1, 2, 3. Call to order the special meeting, special board meeting of the Niles Main District Library Board of August 27th, 2025 at 6:06 p.m. Or, no,
I'm just gonna go in order. Oh, tissue, yes. Okay, so trustee Schoenfeld?
Here.
Secretary Toy?
Here.
Vice President Rosansky? Here. President Keen?
here.
Treasurer Botello?
Present.
Trustee Kadir?
Present.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on to public comment, I thought it would be appropriate to just take a moment of silence to remember Morgan Dubiel, who was village trustee and who served on the library board for 12 minutes. So we can just pause for a few seconds. Thank you. Is there any public comment?
For public comment, I have Elliot Osherman.
Good evening, Board. This is Elliot Osherman. I realize this is a special meeting tonight whose purpose is training on how to determine the next strategic plan for the library. I realize that a report has been submitted about the plan, and tonight's meeting is designed to interpret that report's results and determine how to establish and implement the plan. Based on that stated desire, I only have 3 questions to pose to the individuals at the table. Those individuals comprising both the board members and associated responsible employees of the library. I understand the submitted report is approximately 85 pages. First question, how many of you have even looked at this report? Please raise your hand. Good, thank you. Second question, how many of you, if any, have read, let's say, between 5 and 10 pages of this report? Please raise your hand. Wonderful, thank you. And finally, how many of you have read this report in its entirety already? Thank you, that's excellent, glad to see that. To all of you, thank you for your time and energy and attention to this. Good evening.
Thank you, thank you. Would anyone else in the room like to make public comment? I didn't receive anything.
Okay, thank you. Can we just introduce our presenters? Great.
All right, to the board and to everyone here watching online, I'd like to present Amanda Standiford from Fast Forward Libraries, who we've contracted to do our strategic planning process.
Welcome, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me this evening. Again, I'm Amanda Standiford, and I'm a librarian and library consultant. I'm based in Champaign, Illinois. I've been working in Illinois libraries for the last 25-ish years. I've been a director and a division head. Also worked in philanthropy, so I've done a lot with fundraising and grant management. But my side gig was always strategic planning because I love working with library staff and boards to talk about the future of the library. So I'm excited to be here tonight to lead you all through a process to think about the future of the library. I'm going to start with this handout. Yours is a little different than mine, it's a little darker, that you all just received. To just orient us to the strategic planning process, talk about our agenda for the evening. So I'll start in the top left, which is a reminder of our process for our strategic plan. The first phase, the learn phase, we've finished up. We've spent time gathering community feedback. You all had the opportunity to give feedback, the staff did as well. We looked at demographic data, library data. That all resulted in that 85-page learning report that you all have had a chance to look at, and we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. Now we need to take that data, We know it's not perfect data, but it's a good start at jumping off point and add your lived experience here in the community to dream about the future. So today is the dream phase. We met with staff earlier today. I'll be filling you in on some of the things they talked about as we go along. And then after today, we'll move into the do phase, which is where we'll draft some documents. We'll work with our planning team to refine those, bring those to you for approval, and then turn to implementation, which is a different process. It's a process that will take the plan itself and figure out what is it that we're going to do in order to make progress towards the goals that you all set in your plan. So that'll happen starting next week and then into the fall. Our framework for our process is on the bottom left, so you can see that little kind of hamburger stacked graphic there. These are the different elements of the strategic plan. This is just a way to visualize how they all come together. You see the vision and mission is there at the top. Those are our why statements, so we need to be able to articulate why is the library important to the community, why should people care about the library. Our vision is our aspiration, so it's a short statement that says here's what we hope to achieve or work towards. Our mission is a longer statement that says this is the work we do as an organization in order to hopefully help people attain that vision. And then everything else in the plan kind of flows out from there. So you can see the next layer down is the how section. So how is it that we'll carry out our mission while attempting to achieve our vision? Those are our strategic directions. So those are our priority areas along with our goals, kind of individual things within those strategic directions. And then the lowest level there is our implementation, so activities. So what is it that we're actually going to do to make progress towards our goals? And then evaluation and reporting, so data that we'll gather, and then how we show accountability, report to the board, to the staff, to the community. And you can see on the right side of that graphic, the board, are responsible for the vision and mission statements. So later on tonight, we'll talk about those a little bit. And then there's overlap between the board and the staff on the strategic directions and goals. And so at a certain point, I'll share some of the things that staff talked about at their retreat earlier today. And then you see staff is responsible for those implementation pieces. So the activities, gathering data, reporting on the progress. So when you look at it kind of holistically, you see kind of the different elements there, how they all come together, and who's responsible for what, just as a reminder of what we're doing. On the top right is our agenda for tonight. Our goal is to have a good discussion. We're not making any final decisions tonight. We're really taking the data, adding our lived experience to it, talking about what that means. So I hope you leave here with a sense of maybe where we're going with the plan, but we won't finalize the plan for a little while longer. We'll start with the data. So I'm going to talk about my observations from the learning report, get your feedback about that. We'll start to then narrow things down with our strategic directions. Again, these won't be final, but things that we just want to talk about further tonight. So once we see like where there's consensus from all of you on those strategic directions, we'll dig into those a little bit more deeply. And once we finish that section, which is kind of the longest section of our time together, we will, bless you, we will talk about vision and mission, but we won't spend a ton of time on that. I want our discussion to inform our discussion about vision and mission, but I really just want to get kind of your high level thoughts about that. And then my team will go back and write some draft statements. The planning team will refine those, and we'll bring you back some options to consider. So you'll have another discussion about vision and mission, but I don't want us to spend time tonight like writing statements or anything like that. That would be kind of painful and take a long time. So tonight's just to get some initial input on those statements. Then we'll just start to wrap up by asking if we missed anything, talking about some priorities, getting feedback, reflections, and then answering any questions you have. We'll definitely wrap up by 9 o'clock tonight. We will take a break in there as well, kind of right in between the strategic directions and area of focus sections. We'll take probably a 10-ish or so minute break. There's other opportunity if you need to step away, feel free to do that. Lots of snacks and stuff here. Bottom right is our ground rules. These are fairly simple ones. If we were going to be working over multiple sessions, we would develop these together, but these are the ones I typically use and hope they work for you. One person speaks at a time. That helps not only in the room here, but with our folks on the online. Make sure everyone gets a chance to speak, so there'll be different times when maybe we'll go around and ask you to give feedback if we haven't heard from you. Have an open mind, listen to expand your thinking. Always good to be an active thinker, ask questions, and be curious, to invite dialogue. Focus on possibilities. We're here to dream about the future. We're not gonna get into the well, we don't have the money to do that tonight. That'll come a little bit later when we get to implementation. So tonight's all about dreaming. Be present, so cell phones on silent if you haven't done that. It's okay to disagree, but not be disagreeable. We don't all have to agree tonight. We're just here to have a good discussion. And then later on, we can talk about, does this goal make sense or not? And again, take care of your own needs. So if you need to step out for anything, go ahead and feel free to do that. You have pipe cleaners on the table. Those are because I can't sit still in a meeting like this. So maybe you can't either if you feel the need to fidget a little bit. I usually have one that I'm twisting around my finger right now. Mine's down in my bag. The staff made all kinds of fun things at their retreat today, so feel free to be creative with the pipe cleaners if you want to. They're just there for you to play with. I have other colors if you need something for your creation. Let's see, what else? Questions about our process, our framework, our agenda, or our ground rules? Anybody have anything? Yes, please.
If we aren't going to be writing a mission tonight, when does that happen?
So we'll get some input on it tonight, and then my team will go back and write draft statements. The planning team then will look at those draft statements and narrow them down to a couple of recommended statements that we'll bring to you at, we decided what board meeting we're doing that at?
October.
The October board meeting. You'll get those statements from the planning team. You might decide you don't like those statements and we could figure out a process after that, but typically from those recommended statements, the board picks one or modifies it maybe a little bit and finalizes it at that point. So, yeah. Any other questions about what we're going to do tonight or our process? All right. Let's jump into the learning report then. And what I'd like to do is share my observations about the learning report and give you kind of a broad overview and then have you give your reflections. I've got a couple of questions that I'll ask you and I'll be taking notes up on my big Post-it pad here. I should mention also, Valerie and Victoria are here at the table, but they're really here as observers. I will ask them at times maybe to give some feedback or some context to different things. They participated in the staff retreat, although Valerie also observed there. At the staff retreat, the leadership team had their own table, so they were separate from the rest of in the same room, but separate from the rest of the staff. So she's really here to listen, answer questions, give context, that sort of thing. So if you wonder why she's not actively kind of chiming in, that's what's going on. And that doesn't mean that we can't ask her to hey Valerie, tell us more about that or that kind of thing. So yeah. So I'm going to go through my observations from the learning report and then invite your questions and discussions. We put together about a dozen of these a year. So I've seen a lot of library data over the years that we've been doing this. I've been doing this full time now for almost 4 years. We do them all over the country as well, a lot in the Chicago suburbs since I'm from Champaign. But so there's some similarities, some things that I just want to kind of point out to you. This report was not put together as a mandate to hey, library, do these things. That's not the kind of process this is. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to ask you questions about what you think you should do. Because this data is obviously not perfect. It's not, we didn't hear from everyone in the community. So it's a snapshot in time. It's certain perspectives. It's good data. I think we have a lot here that we can work with. And you all as the board also have thoughts about the future of the library, and I want to hear what you have to say. I will share some of what the staff talked about at certain points as well. And I want to make sure that you all get a little further in your process before I talk about what the staff talked about. So let me go through the different sections of this learning report. There is a lot here. Thrilled to hear that you all have taken a look at it. And again, it was intended to be a jumping off point, not a finite report to you all. I want to start with the library data, which is the first section, and just first say that, what we look for is kind of where are you compared to pre-COVID, and I feel like we're far enough past 2020 that we're seeing new trends and see that, your data, your statistics are really strong in terms of usage, which is great. So now what we're looking at is how do those trends continue? Obviously, there's other factors that influence things like number of programs or card holders. You don't have control over some of those things. But when I look at your data, I think, wow, this is a really healthy, thriving library. So that's awesome. Your computer use is down. That's something that you might have noted when you looked at those. That is something we're seeing all over the country. People have more access to their own devices. They're bringing those. They're using the Wi-Fi. A lot of libraries we've worked with have taken computers off the floor because they feel like they need that space for other things. So that's not something that I would hope to rebound in terms of your computer use. Obviously, you're not getting rid of computers because people still very heavily rely on them. And it's just a trend that we've noticed that I wanted to point out to you all. I also want to note that it's not a chart in there, but we do make note that your cardholder numbers, so in terms of like how many people in your service area have a library card, you're 27%. And that's really awesome. I know you might be like, gosh, we want that to be 100%. And yes, of course you do. There's not a national or even state standard for how many cards you should have in your community. And as I've done these, I like to see 30%. Again, this is totally unofficial. You know, don't go and say, well, Amanda said 30%, because that's not like a real thing. And when I have worked with libraries that I think are doing really well and really having an impact in their community, 30% is what I look for. So you're at 27. That's amazing. It's also not something that I would like to see you write a goal, we should be at 30%, because you don't always have control over do people sign up for cards or not. Is it something that in the back of your mind's like, yeah, would we love to be there? Absolutely. If you drop to 25, am I going to be upset? Absolutely not. Like, it's not about the numbers. It's about what are we doing to raise awareness and reach people in the community. If you get to 30%, awesome. You get above 30%, amazing. There's not a lot of libraries I've worked with that are above 30%. So, you know, being at 27 is really something you should be pretty proud of. So something I was excited to see in their numbers. Sure worked with libraries with a lot lower cardholder penetration in their community. So again, just an observation. I want to talk about community data a little bit. This is census data for the most part, school report card data. It was hard to do your data because you have little pieces of lots of things in this area. So it's, again, this is not perfect or great even data, and you can see some trends in it at least. So for example, your population has decreased by 2.7%, not something that's startling. We've worked in a couple of areas where they've had really large increases in population, which obviously has an impact on the library. So we talk about that a lot during strategic planning. You're not experiencing that. You are experiencing increased diversity, especially among your school-age population, which is a trend nationally to think about languages and how we support people in different ways with different backgrounds and identities. Your household income and household value has increased. Again, that's kind of limited based on the village of miles and then the township. So again, we're not capturing kind of outlying areas and you know, have a sense of what's happening there, although we know it's probably different depending, again, on what census tract you're looking at. You do have a lot of diversity in languages, and we also saw that in the community survey data as well. So Appendix A has all of the census data that we put together in terms of a profile if you are interested in digging in more to that. It's really just kind of background and context to make sure we're not, you know, missing something that's happening with your population as we're planning for the future. The biggest chunk of data is your community survey, so I want to spend quite a bit of time talking about that. You had 650 people in your service area and beyond fill out the community survey. That's 1.1% of the population you serve. That's really awesome. Staff, I think some of them were a little disappointed that you only had 1.1%. We are thrilled if you get 1%. We don't always get 1% of the community to fill out a community survey. We've rarely gotten more than that. I think staff asked, so I told them the most I've ever had is 8% was a downstate library that served a smaller community, but in terms of communities of your size, 1.1% is amazing. Again, not perfect, not everyone. And what I'm looking for in community survey data is your kind of super users, people who have a relationship with you, who have a card, who are library people, who know about what you do and can help you plan for the future. If you only heard from those people that don't use the library, they're not going to know enough to say, here's what we think you should do, because they don't have that background and context. So you had 48% of those respondents said that they use the library weekly or more. That's awesome. So again, we're hearing from people who know you, are connected to you. 77% said they have a card from this library. 4% were not sure. 5.7% said they don't have a card. That doesn't mean they don't use the library. They just don't have a card. And then 13% said they have a card from another library, which is interesting. Certainly there are plenty of libraries in this area and people are mobile. We asked them, what do you like about those other libraries? So there was lots of feedback about different things that different libraries offer. Every library is a little different. We had a lot that Chicago and Morton Grove, that seems pretty obvious. And again, different communities served. We asked people their overall satisfaction for the library. And this is, again, another kind of touch point for me when I see the data from my team to say, how's this library doing? Like what's going on at this library? 92.8% of your survey respondents said they were satisfied or very satisfied overall with the library, which is amazing. Yes, please.
Is that a self-selecting bias, that percentage?
Probably, yeah, because it's people who are already connected to you and like you. And it's not always the case. Like I've seen surveys like this where it's people who have cards, they use the library a lot, their satisfaction is not high for various reasons. And so, sure, self-selecting bias. And it's still really great, to know that the people who are using you are happy with what you're doing. And it's also, I think, a benchmark number that in 3 to 5 years you can, 2 to 4 years, you could go back and do this survey again and ask that same question and see if the people who respond are still satisfied. So yeah, it's not something that you're like, okay, check, we're doing great, we don't have to do anything different. But it is a I think, indicator of the overall just perceptions and health of the library, at least in terms of what I think and when I see this data. I'm happy if it's over 80%, honestly, and so 92.8% is fantastic. And I think a testament to the work that your staff is doing and the service that they give. Yes, please.
I'm just interested in knowing, when you're done presenting about data, I have some questions that I have been asked by residents.
Absolutely.
So just, I'll hold on to my question until you're done with that presentation.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Okay, so we did dig into satisfaction to ask like levels of satisfaction with different specific things. Customer service was rated number 1 in terms of satisfaction. Again, that's a testament to the great work the staff is doing. People like the facility is number 2, the technology offered is 3, and your physical collection. So those are all, again, solid things, core to your mission, things people that responded to the survey are happy about, and I think things you can be proud of. We asked, what do people use when they come to the library? They use the physical collection, the digital collection, and the spaces. Again, we're getting affirmation that what we're doing is on the right track. There are a lot of open-ended questions and places in the data that you're just going to see big chunks of that are summarized. And I want to tell you a little bit more about how we handled that data, because this is not like a scientific study. This was put together for learning purposes. So we did not code this data. And what I mean by that is when we asked an open-ended question, we didn't go through and say like, well, 10 people said this, 30 people said this, 50 people said this. Instead, we summarized all the data because one person could have a really great idea, and we didn't want to lose all of that feedback, and we didn't want to bias your conversation by saying, oh, 50 people said this, so you should do this, right? So if there were multiple responses about something, we did summarize them, but if one person said something, we added it, and that means that sometimes there's very specific data in those open-ended questions. It doesn't mean those things need addressed or responded to, or that you need to do those things. It means that one person said that thing. And especially when thinking about implementation and programs maybe that the staff's going to do, or particular directions with marketing, there's a lot of good feedback here that needs to be considered. It might not be appropriate for a strategic planning discussion, but it sure is helpful when kind of getting down to some of the nitty gritty. Having said that, there's lots of contradictions in that data and things people want and then don't want that are the same but on opposite ends. That's how our community is too. Yeah, right. And there's things that you're doing already that people ask for or want that, they just don't know about, or they want to make sure don't go away. There's sometimes things that you could never do. There's sometimes things that you have tried that maybe you sunset for some particular reason. So that open-ended data is very kind of nebulous, squishy on purpose. And so as you read it, it might not be very satisfying to say like, well, how many people said that? Sometimes it's one person that said it. And that's for you all to consider if that's important to think about or not. Sometimes people complain about things that maybe happened a long time ago, and we want to hear from people, and if they had a bad experience and have a perception based on that, we should know about that. It doesn't mean we can do something about it always, but we need to ask ourselves, is that something that's important to consider as we're planning for the future? I know staff especially, their brains attached to certain comments, and that's hard because they take things personally because they care about their work, and same with you all being on the board. But it's, again, we just need to be open to listening to what the community said in those open-ended responses. So just a note about all of those. So a couple other areas we did ask about future interest, and this was people could kind of rate their interest in different things. What came out as the top 4 were having a cafe or some sort of snack shop. 2, having remote lockers for pickup of items. 3, bathrooms on the lower 2nd floor, so physical things, and then 4, having a bookmobile. I take that to mean also like outreach, being in different parts of the community. Let's see, a lot of the sections are, again, more for implementation, so like the programs, ideas that will help with implementation for the staff, communication preferences, so looking at emails, print, website, those are the most common things people, where they wanted to see communication. Obviously, the library has presence in all of those areas. We asked a life stage question, so we asked people, you work full-time, are you a student, are you retired, do you have kids in your house, do you have access to transportation, what's your technology like? So that gave us a sense of who's responding to this, and then throughout in the findings, if there were differences based on those life stages, we called those out. So sometimes you'll see, like, people who were retired said this versus, the whole survey respondent said these other things. So we didn't break down everything for every single question. We just called out if there were differences. So again, you might have noted some of those things. We did ask about age and languages spoken at home. We're overrepresented in certain age groups, but not so badly that the data's skewed any more than it is for any other particular characteristic. But the 35 to 49 was compared to your population. More respondents were in those age groups, probably a lot of moms. We tend to get, female of, having children type age to fill out surveys more than other groups. And then the 60 plus, because our seniors have time to spend on that sort of thing. That's all I want to say about the survey, but I do want to answer your questions. 2 more things I want to talk about. One is the focus groups and interviews. So the reason we do these is to kind of complement the community survey. We know we're getting mostly users, people who care about us in the community survey. The focus groups and interviews are people who are stakeholders in the community, maybe not as connected to us, so it's a little bit different perspective. Those are run by my colleague Cindy Fessmeyer, and she takes a very community-focused approach. So the questions start very broad. What would you like to see in the community, aspirations, moving to kind of barriers, challenges, what do we do about that? And then kind of going back out to, well, what does this mean for the library's aspirations? And again, some of these folks don't know a lot about the library, so some of this is her taking the community data and saying, okay, if this is what they're talking about, this is maybe what this means for the library. So she talked to 45 people in 4 different focus groups, which is great representation. And she also did 16 individual, like one-on-one interviews. So I'm just gonna run through the headings of things that she noticed, and if you haven't had a chance to look at those, the detailed there's really a lot. Community aspirations are around human services, communication, getting around, so transportation in the community, culture and recreation, economic development, and community connections. And so what does this mean for library aspirations? Of being a community hub, so being a place where people can come have those community connections, marketing and communication, so there's more awareness of what's going on at the library, access to physical spaces and collections, which complemented the community survey because we saw a lot of that. Technology, which is also a big theme in the community data, community survey data, and programs, so people coming here to connect with people, learn, have fun, make something, whatever. So again, there's a lot more in that section about challenges and barriers too. So did you have something you wanted to ask?
Yeah, this is a high-level question, and I
Sure.
don't know if you're going to get to this.
Okay.
So you have an 85-page report, right?
Yep.
And 85-page report is in many ways akin to a 150-page bill or 1,000-page bill, or financing bill that comes before a senator.
Sure.
And then the senator picks up on key,
Sure.
key elements in it, and then not on other elements or whatever, and then votes, and you get a law that nobody really understood the entire implications of it.
Fair.
So what is the process? And, my approach was look at the executive summary, hear your thing, and then I'll sit down and I'll go through the whole thing,
Sure.
hopefully. But what's the process by which I turn this
Yep.
into an actual plan of
Yeah.
action, and for all of us,
Sure.
into a plan of action and you may be getting to this.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not, I know you're still introducing us, but how do we do that?
Yeah. I mean, that's what tonight is for. So we're going to talk about this and how you all felt and noticed about things in this data. And then you all are going to have the opportunity to say, here's where I think we should focus. And it can be based on this data. It can be based on your lived experience here in the community and what you've learned about the library, being on the library board. And you'll all get the opportunity to talk about those priorities. You each get up to 3. And from there, we'll see where you have consensus. And then we'll talk more about those areas. So, yeah, I mean, if your concern is like, wow, I haven't really been able to digest this enough to say what the priorities are, that's okay, because this is just one piece in what you should be considering when you're thinking about the future of the library. Because you also, you know, I'm presuming are here because you want to be on the library board and you care about the library. So you've been thinking about what is it that we could do that, you know, would make an impact in the community.
I have to admit, that it was a lot of information, so to try and nail down a few
Sure.
ideas,
Okay.
I figured that's what this meeting
Yeah,
is.
well, we will definitely get there, yeah. But that's not me coming to tell you what those ideas should
No,
be. It's
absolutely.
you all
It's
saying,
us
here's what we
discussing.
care about, you know, when our experience here on the board and in the community, here's things that we're hearing that we think are important. Some things are more operational, and that we're not gonna talk about operational stuff tonight. That's not what a strategic plan is about. But other things are like, wow, how could we really help and support people? And so what are those things? Let's figure those out.
But sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult here.
No.
In some ways, isn't, because essentially as a board, our responsibility is to give direction to the director.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Mhm.
And so, you know, from a perspective of, should you, you know, like, let's say like mushy stuff, if
Yeah.
you will, like, kind of, yeah, we're doing good with, we're doing well, good.
Uh-huh.
We're doing well with X, Y, and Z, we're not doing so well with X, Y, and Z. That's between Valerie going and telling her supervisors, hey, they refocus on that. That's not really kind of, but when it comes down to operational, like, hey, we need more space here, we need less space here, we should redesign this because people don't like it. I feel like that's more where the board is like really, like you're hitting our expertise, because our expertise is where should we spend money and where should we
Sure.
not spend money.
No, that's fair.
And so, how do we, like, I'm just, you know, when I looked at the executive summary, I'm just kind of like confused as to how do I take demographic data and then turn that into, I need 17 more shelves in
Yeah.
the adult section, and, you know, like, how do I turn that into
Yeah.
an ask? I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, you don't. Demographic data is for context. It's just so,
Okay.
like, if, for example, if I were to stand here and say, wow, you have a 17% increase in your population, you ought to be thinking about building expansion and what does that look
Okay.
like? Like,
Okay,
that's
I
what
see
it's
what
for.
you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not, it's not intended to be a one-to-one. Look at this, this is what happens. It's intended to be a spark for a conversation tonight with all of you to say, I noticed this, what does this mean for us? What should that look like in the future? So, yeah, and maybe that's too nebulous of a response,
Yeah.
because this is a
We trust the
process, right?
process,
It's a
Umair. We
process.
just
Yeah,
have to go
I'm
through
trusting
the-
the process, I'm just confused, I'm not,
It will become clearer.
It'll come clear.
I will
Sure.
make a small interjection here. Staff had the same question about how this process works until we went through the process.
okay.
It will feel more
I will.
comfortable as
Yeah.
we go through.
I will consider myself a fool about the.
Yeah, there were maybe one or two ideas I had after reading this.
Sure.
But I'm keeping my mouth shut until we go further in the
Awesome.
process.
Thank you. And I want to hear all of those things because that's what'll help us figure out like where your heads are. And we're not making final decisions tonight, right? Like
No.
even if tonight you all are like, wow, that's a really great idea, we should do that. We still have staff feedback that needs to be brought in that we've already gathered and need to come back to you all with a like, all right, here's how it came together. So strategic planning is very mushy in that there aren't absolutes, right? Like we can't say like, wow, we had 40 programs and 300 people attended, so we should really just focus on that because libraries do lots more than that. There's so many factors to consider and just the numbers alone aren't going to tell us here's what we should do, right? So I can hear you maybe want a little more certainty and that's not what tonight is about.
Yeah, the
I'm sorry.
lawyer brain in me is like, oh my God, this is nebulous, right?
So just like let that be there for a little
Okay.
bit longer. And I think as we start talking, maybe you'll start to see how things are gonna come together. Maybe.
Okay,
Okay? All right.
or maybe
I
I'll keep
have
asking you the
faith
same
in you,
question over.
Mayor. I totally
don't.
have faith in you.
Yeah, if we get to the end and you're like, I still don't get what we're doing here, like, yeah, that's a problem. And I do a dozen of these a year, I feel pretty good that you're gonna leave here going like, okay, I kinda get it.
Okay,
Okay?
All right, I will
thank
trust
you.
the process.
All right, thank you. Okay, I have one other section I wanna talk about, and I think it's an important one. It's the second appendix, it's Appendix B. Our numbering is bad, so it actually starts over with number 0, but it's after all the demographic data. And it's the summary report from the strategic capacity assessment. that you
So
all,
approximately what page, or do you have a page?
0,
number?
it's page 0.
page
It's the end of the
0, but it's at
packet.
the very end, hold on, it's after page 60. Does that help?
After
think I
page
have
60?
After page
It's at the
60.
very
Okay,
It
cool.
starts
Cool.
over again.
Oh, I got
We
this.
need
Okay,
to,
I see where it is.
yeah, we need to
Zero.
fix our numbering, so that's, I noticed that today, that we messed that up, but,
Don't sweat the small.
okay, thank you. So that's the summary from the assessment, the internal assessment that we did as part of the information gathering. 5 board members, 62 staff filled that out. 3 areas. Now, when I think about strategy, when I think about our healthy, robust library, I think of 3 areas. I think about your internal working culture. How do you as the board work together? How does the staff work together? How are we all shaping that together? I think about core operations. When I look at library standards, especially here in Illinois where we have standards, not every state does, how are we doing relative to those standards? I know you all are spending time looking at those and considering them. And then 3, a strategy. So those three things come together to make a healthy library, right? If you're not paying attention to core operations, how are you going to work on strategy? If you're not paying attention to working culture and how you're caring for staff or your working dynamic, how are you going to get things done on core operations? So you see how it's all connected. So the assessment is our attempt, at least, this is our unique survey that we do, to get a sense of what's going on with those 3 areas for you all, okay? So the first section was about working culture, and 68.97 of the respondents said internally, again, this is 5 board members and 62 staff, said they were satisfied or very satisfied overall with working at the library or serving on the board. That's pretty good. Like, you're never going to be 100%. I've never had a library at 100% satisfied or very satisfied. I've had some higher, I've had some lower. I think you're pretty solid on that. Now, you may be like, wow, that's a problem, 68.97%.
No,
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I'm here to say I think it's a really good number. When you look at the dissatisfied and very dissatisfied, those are very low. That's like 1 person each. Your neutrals, got quite a few in there, but that's okay. Like, we don't always feel good about what we're doing every day. So I'm not here to like cause panic with that number. I'm here to say, I think you're doing pretty good with that. Now, when you break that down and you look at different areas of culture, and I'm looking at the top 5 on kind of the further digging into culture. The top 5 are, I feel trusted to do my job, I have support from my direct supervisor, I have opportunities to share feedback, I have tools to do my job, and I have a sense of belonging. When you look at human resource research, and I'm specifically thinking about Marcus Buckingham's work for Harvard Business Review and Gallup and all of that, those are like the top 5 things that research shows, like, with employers all over, not just libraries, that make a difference in an employment a place of employment. That's what people care about is those 5 things. So, you may be like, well, 68%, I'm not really happy about that. But then you look at those 5 and it's like, but those are really good. So, to me, in combination, I'm like, all right, they're doing great. The bottom ones are things that I see at every single library I've ever worked at, ever, since we've been doing this assessment. Opportunities for collaboration and team dynamics between departments. And that is, this is not a unique library thing, and I think libraries are particularly bad at it. We're very siloed, right? Like, children's work in children's, second floor folks work on the second floor. We're very connected to our team. Who are we working with that night at our desk, our department meeting or whatever. And we don't then think about how do we, work with others across the library. Go ahead.
Why?
Because it's
why is that
hard.
library?
Because I, as a staff member working a reference desk, it's not necessarily my job to think about what's happening in children, And I would say it is my job that if I care about what's happening in the library and I want to be able to serve my community, I am going to proactively seek out what's going on holistically around the library and be informed to share that. But I might not feel motivated to do that because what benefit is of it to me,
But if I work in, say, the accounting department of a pharmaceutical company, I really care about what drugs come out of our company because that affects whether or not my job stays or not.
But it's different in a public library where it's like, well, that's on the other floor. I don't need to know about that because I can still do my job without knowing what's happening on that floor. Because I can help people connect with books out here, or I know the programs that are happening in adults. So it's a very common thing. I did a whole webinar series on this because it's so common in libraries that I don't know. I don't want to say that library people are lazy because that's not what it is. They care deeply about their work. I think it's just that we get very focused on what our role is and that we're not always maybe given the opportunity or we feel overloaded or whatever to collaborate across
If you're a
departments.
part-time worker making
Or
$16
part-time.
an hour, you're not going to really
100%.
be inspired.
Yeah, And that doesn't mean there aren't things we couldn't do to break down those barriers and help with it too. So I see it's at the bottom of every library. I mean, if I could figure out the magic key, I would be a millionaire because I could go to every library and say, here's what you should do. And I sure have ideas of what you should do, but I can't come and tell you that. That has to come from the staff. And if they say these things are not working for us, they each have a role in helping make that better. And I'm not talking about anything radical. I'm literally talking about like more committees across departments, right? Like it's not, but it has to be structured in a system so that it's easy. Because I, as a part-time frontline staff worker, am not going to come up with what's the system. That's not my job. So it's thinking about how do we put mechanisms in place that address these things and then invite people to participate in it, essentially.
Isn't there another element of maybe not, sorry, I'm asking so many questions.
It's all right, please.
Like not forcing the issue? So you said, you know, I put a committee across departments, say, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be great if you're talking adult and kid, you know, youth services and adult, and you want to say, okay, where are the commonalities? Where is the kind of transition age? Like, is it 16-year-olds who are going to adult, or is it like the 14-year-olds who are shifting?
Right.
And how do we get them to shift comfortably and blah, blah, blah.
So
Those might be great things, right?
Yeah.
But then you put the marketing people with the building services people, and they're gonna be like looking at each other
Sure.
like, what? Like, hold on a
go ahead,
second.
Valerie.
I'm gonna interject here.
Sure.
There also has to be structure in that, yes, we want collaboration, but we don't just want collaboration for the sake of
That's what I was trying to
collaboration.
get at.
And so the focus on the strategic plan is to give us those big areas where the community's asking for this, the board's asking for this, everybody's asking for this. Then we form committees that serve those purposes. So what this process is about is getting those big areas so that we can then narrow down.
Got it. All right.
Thank you.
Let me also say that today at our staff retreat, we very intentionally mixed people up so that they weren't at tables with people they normally work at. And I had 3 people afterwards, I have no idea who they were, come up and say, that was really great that I got to talk to people in other departments. I learned so much, you know, somebody maybe I see in passing or whatever. So there's definitely benefit in just kind of getting together in that way for sake of getting together in that way. You know what I mean? Just in terms of feeling connected to other people in your workplace.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that?
I like your expression, Courtney.
You're like, what else is he gonna
What
ask?
else?
Listen, I'm ready.
What else is this man gonna question?
I just have 2 more things to say, and then I am going to invite all of your questions.
All right.
Yeah,
one
so
more.
the 2 other sections, your core services. So this particular report is a little bit of a deviation from the rest of the strategic planning process because it is focused on things besides strategy like core operations. So I did meet with the library's management team separately to talk through these things. We talked about the core operations section. I know things like working on policies and procedures are, you know, already underway. So I don't think necessarily that particular section is important for our discussion tonight. If you do have questions about it, I'm happy to answer those. And then the area about strategy is really just 2 questions. What's the library good at, our strengths, and what opportunities do we have for the future? That's really for me to get an idea of what's on the minds of folks so that when I come here to talk to you all, I'm prepared. And it also then helps just kind of organize some questions and discussion that I know the staff and you all are going to have. But again, I'm happy to answer questions there. That was an open-ended question, so same thing. It was summarized, but every response was included in some way in that. So I'm going to invite questions, and I want to just make a note that your handouts are also for you to take notes on. I'm not going to collect these. The next page of your handout has the questions I'm going to use here, which are
Okay, now I just have to figure, oh, there it is.
too many papers. You know, what was interesting and stood out to you? What do you think maybe was missing from the data? I mean, obviously, we didn't hear from a lot of non-users. You know, from some, or people who didn't have cars. It doesn't mean they're not users. You know, is there other things that you think we need to gather for the future to help us implement this plan? And then, what questions do you have? All right, I'm ready. Who wants to give me some feedback about the learning report?
So I'll start. Thank you for making time for questions. So I want to bring you back to the actual data and what it represents, because I'm not certain that your report truly reflects what the library district, or at the very least, the unincorporated portion of the library
It
district.
doesn't. I know it doesn't.
So my question to you is, you know, on one of the challenges here in terms of lack of collaboration it indicates here, neighborhoods are siloed and people often don't act as a whole community. And so with that in mind, some of the people that I hear from the community, and they've had time to review this report, you mentioned that unincorporated areas were not included in this report. Am I correct?
No, they absolutely were. They aren't included in the demographic profile in Appendix A. They were included in every other aspect of the report.
So,
Or they had the
Where's-
opportunity to participate. Let me just say that, yeah.
so then, the questions that I've been asked is, in terms of like, we're talking about the library district,
Yeah.
not so much about the village of Niles.
Correct, yes.
But yet, there's a lot of references to the village of Niles, and we govern the
Yeah.
Niles Main District Library.
Yeah, I hope that those references would just be in that demographic section, but I'm certainly open to going back and reviewing all of it because there is definitely deficiency in
So
the
I'll
demographic section.
Great, thank you for acknowledging
Yeah.
that. And I think that's what these group of people from unincorporated areas
Sure.
are sharing with you.
Yeah,
Number one, community challenges. So you cited funding, lack of municipal funding. Well, we don't have municipal funding.
yeah, okay,
We govern by our district. So
Right.
that's completely wrong.
right. And that's probably just an error based on my team member who did that and was not aware that that was how the funding was structured. So we can correct that.
Great, thank you, because, see, the point is that the entire district feels like there's taxation without representation.
Oh,
And I'm
gotcha.
hearing that from community members in those unincorporated areas.
Sure.
And I'll give you a little history here.
Sure.
At one point, we were Niles Library.
Yes,
But we're taxing unincorporated area. We changed the name to Niles Main District Library.
Mhm, it
So
wasn't that
this,
long ago.
this report from that segment of the population completely failed.
right.
And to me, it's flawed, and I'm not sure that I can use this in making decisions as it involves the district itself,
Yeah.
the library district, because a lot of references are to the city. Now, there's going further on the issue of municipal funding. It reads here, the city needs tax dollars to benefit the community, but many do not want higher taxes.
Mhm.
That's completely wrong.
Mhm. Okay,
And
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I think that's a comment from a patron who filled out the survey.
is it?
I don't know what page you're on.
So I'm looking at page 55, and it reads community challenges.
Right, so that is from a
think
focus
that-
group
Uh-huh.
comment.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think part of this is our mistake in that, again, my team member who did the focus groups and interviews did not understand their funding mechanism. And so I understand what you're saying and I appreciate, and I really appreciate you bringing it to our attention. We did very intentionally invite people from those unincorporated areas to those focus groups and interviews. They all had the opportunity to fill out the community survey. So it's a semantics thing where we made a mistake essentially.
Okay, well,
And
thank
we
you
need
for
to update it.
thank you for acknowledging that
Yeah.
mistake. Amir, I have to
Oh,
finish.
sorry, okay.
Yeah, no problem. But that's where the problem comes in, is that
Sure,
if you've been doing this for a very long time,
yeah.
this is basic, honestly.
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't catch
Well,
that in the.
It's not an apology to
Yeah.
me, it's an
Yeah.
apology to the unincorporated area that's being taxed and is not being represented here. So that, and again, this is their words.
What I'm saying, they are represented, it's the semantics that we talked about it incorrectly
Gotcha,
in the
gotcha.
report.
Thank you.
So
Mhm.
they were represented, we just didn't say it the right
Okay,
way.
so when you talk about representation then.
Yes.
The demographics of the community data, you cite the village of Niles.
Correct.
What about the rest of the district?
Yeah. So again, the demographics, because of the way the census data is structured, we weren't able to include all the unincorporated areas. That would take a lot of resources. We're happy to do that, but it was outside of the scope for this particular report. So and the demographics I feel are more context versus like, again, a tool for decision making like we talked about before. So yeah, those unincorporated areas are missing from the demographics because of the flaw, not a flaw, but because of the way census data is accessed.
And so with that being said, there's another reference to the IMLS service area.
Yes,
So we're looking at two separate numbers here where, you know, you break down the village of Niles at about 29,000 residents and you gave demographics there.
mhm,
But then in the IMLS service area, which includes the district now, you're citing 59,000.
Right.
So if they can get the data, why couldn't you?
that's a census question, like, I'm not, it's just not available in tracks that way. I mean, I'm looking at your map over
Right,
here on the
exactly.
wall, and as a consumer of census data, because I don't have access to like the back end and like being able to draw a map like that and get the data, I can only look at census tracts individually, one by one. So we could do that, but it would be a huge table of all those different individual pieces, because that's what some of that is. Now, the
Yeah.
township and the city, we could do, because those are census areas that the census gathers. And we can get the rest of it, but again, we didn't as part of the scope of this project.
Okay, so just to say, to repeat with the point that I'm saying, the residents in that area feel there's
I feel that.
taxation without representation because they're not included here. Now, you did say they're invited, so thank you for that effort. Let me just go on to
Can I
another
ask you a
thing.
couple questions before you keep going? Or
Mhm.
do you want me to wait till you're all?
No, go ahead.
The data that you said that they got the data, what exact data? They got the data that she couldn't get the data. What exact data do you mean that the IMLS service area got that? this
Yeah,
report
sure.
Doesn't have?
Sure, so, like, for example, so when the library asks for grants,
Yes.
we don't just look at Niles.
No, of course not.
We look at the IMLS district numbers, which
Right.
is at about 59,000.
Yeah.
So that's what the state of Illinois, the state public library, state library looks at when they're considering
Yes,
granting those grants.
absolutely.
Now, we have to work under those numbers as it relates to services. We cannot just simply say, oh, well, the village of Niles, X,
No,
Y,
I
Z.
agree.
And so that's where, and again, I'm sharing this because I'm hearing from the folks that voted for me, that voted for us, that they're saying, well, look, number one, we voted to restore services here. We want to raise our taxes. Please raise our taxes. We've had a lot of community members
Yes.
say that in our meetings. So the fact that you're saying here that essentially, but many do not want higher taxes, completely wrong.
Okay, but that's a
You
comment
missed
from
that.
a person,
Yeah,
not a.
Okay,
yeah,
well-
right. And realistically, there will be always people who say, we don't want raised taxes. There always is.
And then my other question is, I guess, you know, trying to figure out and take all this information in and understanding that we did, offer the survey to everyone in the district, on the website and in paper and sending it out, and that we also tried to get community focus groups. I know that all of the trustees were asked for contact information, and a lot of the people that either people didn't provide those contacts, and that, I'm talking about us at this table right now, did not provide those contacts even when asked multiple times, or some of the contacts that were provided just didn't take advantage of it. So I guess my question is, like, I'm wondering, how do we, and this has always been a question I've been asking all these years, and maybe this is not the time for the answer, but I'm like, how do we reach the people in the district then? That's part of our, I think, what we need to end up focusing on.
Yes.
How do we reach those people?
Yeah.
Because that is been a concern of ours for a long time.
Yes, it is.
Can I?
So if they're not responding to those things, and if we're not responding to the questions ourselves, how do we do it? Yes.
Can I comment just on your comment before Roberto continues? So part of this is self-selecting. If you live 4 blocks away, you are much more likely to come to this library. From my house to the Niles Library is about 9-10 minutes. My house to the Des Plaines Library is about 11. So people in my area, in the unincorporated area, are just as likely to go to Des Plaines as they are here, especially since all of our addresses are in Des Plaines or Glenview. There are people who live in unincorporated Des Plaines who don't realize they live in unincorporated Des Plaines. They just think we live in Des Plaines. So the idea that, you're actually part of the Niles Main District Library as opposed to the Des Plaines Library District, because that's what your address says where you get your mail. Your zip code is the rest of incorporate, is the same as incorporated Des Plaines. There are a number of people, and I'm not trying to discount like what you're mentioning, but when I was going out and talking to voters 2 years ago when I was campaigning, a lot of people, I would ask the question, what library do you use? And there were a lot of people, my neighbors, like 2 streets down, who'd be like, yeah, we go to Des Plaines. Once in a while, we go to Niles. And others who are like, what library? We have a library?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of feel like there is a certain self-selection just based on geography. And so, yes, we serve the entire district, but if you take the people in the immediate, 1 square mile radius of the library, there's just a lot more likely to show up. Like when my kids want to check out a book, their first resource is the school library. And then if they don't find what they want at the school library, then they say, hey, Daddy, take us to,
So, thank you. Forgive me, let me just.
No problem, go talk.
So you're asking the question, in terms of what should we be doing as the board? And again, I want to say this. We have to include unincorporated area. Our name says Niles, Maine. And the problem is when there are reports published that literally are not accurate in terms of the funding mechanism for the district. Look at another point right here. The village departments are not collaborating to address issues. I'm sorry. Our town is very supportive of library issues.
But that's,
And-
those are
Those are all
comments
patron
from
comments.
patrons.
Okay,
Yes.
right. So,
And I agree, there is a lot of
yeah. So in
interesting
terms,
information in there, but
And
that's.
I've always felt that we need to reach and figure a way to reach unincorporated.
Can I just raise my hand? Even, this would now be 26 years ago. The goal was always to reach up there.
Yes,
And we've somehow, I don't know why or how, never been able to do it perfectly 100%.
no,
What they did 8 years ago or so, he changed the name, hoping that would help the people realize that Main Township, some of it in that unincorporated areas, this is your library, but kind of like, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It just, I don't think has come to fruition, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
And I think some of that has to do with the geography issue that I mentioned. If
Yeah.
you're closer to the Des Plaines Library,
and
you're not
also,
going to this
Well, and
library,
if you're,
even if you live in the district.
if your town is Des Plaines, here, you think you go to Des Plaines.
Right.
I have heard from people who've gone to Des Plaines Library or other libraries to register and get a library card and have been told, no, you
Yeah,
need to go to
been there.
Niles.
Then they're-
Whether or not they come here to get the card, it doesn't, if they get a card from here, they could use whatever library, just like we have people from Chicago and stuff coming here. They just have to realize, okay, I'm paying taxes for them, I get my card through it. And yes, I could get some online benefits through having their card through that library. But otherwise, if, I've talked to people, Linda used to be unincorporated,
Yeah.
living in
Linda lives nearby.
unincorporated, and
Or
she
used
was
to
on
live
the
nearby.
board. Well, she's moved. But her neighbor, they're unincorporated, they're part of Niles Library, they didn't even know what library. So we need to figure a way to reach people and inform them. But there are still a lot of people in Niles who think back and say, we're Niles. Why are we doing for unincorporated? So it's a whole big thing of educating people and trying to get them to come in and realize we are the library for everyone.
So if somebody gets the newsletter, for example, it shows up in my mailbox, but if a person doesn't read it, then, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, this is for Niles, why am I even getting this?
well,
There's a certain self-selecting bias, is what I'm trying to say.
Can I share something?
Sure.
I think would be helpful at this point. The staff largely shared the same concerns and expressed the same things of what we see on the floor and in the community versus what the survey responses said. There is no good way to collect data such as census data for Maine Township. And so this is why we have these discussions with the staff and with you all to talk about the people who didn't take the survey, who don't know where their library, because we all feel that that's important. One of the biggest things that came up today in the staff day, and I just checked in to see if I could bring this up at this point. Outreach was the biggest thing that came out of the staff day today. So we're all saying the same things, that the people who took the surveys, if we have 45 other languages spoken from the people who just took the
Right.
survey, there are people who may not have felt the survey was accessible, people who don't know where their library, and we did try some of the surveys in other languages, but that's largely was not successful here or at many of the other libraries Amanda has worked with. So we're all saying the same things, that the data is not 100% reflective. And also it is very, very important to note that the comments from individual people who took the survey are often contradictory.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I saw some of that.
And we need to be aware of that as well.
So just even in the executive summary, if you know, the survey report, you know, some of the findings were, and then you read the findings and it's like, okay, here's a satisfaction rate of, you know, this percentage, and yet one of the biggest complaints is blah, and it's like, how can that be a big complaint if everybody's happy? You know, it just,
Yeah.
some of it didn't jive.
Can I talk now, please?
Oh, sorry.
It's
Yeah,
quite
talk
all
so
right.
much.
Uh,
I get that.
I had made the suggestion, I believe at the last board meeting, about putting something, because one of the other suburban libraries put in there to try and get people to sign up for cards.
In the
I
newspaper.
honestly think doing a map so people can see that they live in Niles District, somehow making sure you put the bordering streets or something so they know, and say, please come and get a card.
The Illinois State Library has that map, and we can, we're going to make efforts to put it out there so people know how to check what library is theirs.
One of the places I went to when we were looking for people to sign to be board members, last time we had somebody drop out, I took things to areas that were unincorporated. I took to Maine Township Park District and different places like that. One of my suggestions is take a map, Maine District Library, and see if we can hang it up in one of those places, or even in Maine Township Hall.
Yeah.
Those are places people will go, especially the Park District if they have kids. And from looking at the survey, a lot of people that come here and fill this out have kids. That's a place that I think we should consider. And a thing we should possibly consider.
Roberta?
Yes, sure. I want to just close off my comments by saying this. So the question was asked, you know, what more can we do as a board? And so we have an opportunity now, this being part of that discussion, and thank you for the product that you presented to us. We as a board now have a vacancy we have to fill, and there are some very good candidates out there. I'm going to just make a recommendation for us as a board and for the community that there's certainly, again, there's a need for us to have more representation from the unincorporated areas. So as we consider filling that vacancy, I'm going to just make a point of reference here. One of our trustees here, Amir Kadir, he resides in an unincorporated area. So I could see where if there's another opportunity to fill that vacancy, and if we have a candidate from that area, for us to seriously take that into account. And, you know, I'm going to say this, that just from the folks that I'm hearing from, they certainly, and I'm repeating myself, but they certainly feel that they don't mind their taxes being raised. They do want data that's representative of their parts of the district. And the way it's presented in this manner does not, it doesn't capture the essence. You really have to go digging for it, and in a sense, have an hour, 2-hour presentation to understand it. That's flawed, in my opinion, because that's what I'm hearing from them. So what can we do in the future? I think we need to consider better presentations for the work that we're doing for the community and what we're using as tools to represent those areas. So thank you for your time, for the time, appreciate it, and I'll end it at that point.
Other thoughts about the data?
Can I jump to page 4, the core operations assessment?
Wait, back to the other one. Okay, hang on.
So page 4 on that first one.
Okay, hold it. Where was I? Okay.
So we're in the strategic capacity assessment at the very end, after the numbers restart on page 4.
Oh, at the,
Got it.
thank
Yep.
you.
The
This
the
one.
other 4.
Yep.
Second.
Yeah,
I
the
think you
second
said
4.
Paul's first.
We will
Okay.
fix those page numbers. I have a list
Yeah,
of things to
go
fix.
Yeah, I know that. I just, I'll get
But maybe
there.
we just keep the reports separate, we'll be okay.
Okay,
So on the other 4, in the core operations assessment, overall themes, respondents highlight the need for facility repairs, better programming meeting spaces, update computers, and cleaner, more functional spaces. Whether in customer service standards, collection development, program evaluation, or marketing, respondents describe inconsistent practices, solid decision-making, and need for clearer policy and coordination. This recurring theme of poor internal communication, resistance chain, and frustration with leadership styles. I hear that on one hand, and then I hear on the other hand, 70% of people are satisfied.
yeah.
And so, is that really an overall theme? If 75% of people are satisfied and 95% of people are either satisfied or neutral? Like,
It's 2 questions. One was rate these things, and one was give us feedback for how to make it better. And so it's the themes from how to make it better that ended up in that column. So if
Okay.
you look on the further breakdown, which is on page,
If I could
sorry.
figure out where the heck I'm
Go way to the back, Patty. You're on
This
page-
is 60 here.
Yeah.
So I didn't find 0,
Is it
so I'm
7?
assuming 0 might be here.
So starting
I'll
on
find
page
it.
16,
Here's
17, 18, has the breakdowns of where that summary comes from.
I've got it.
so let me ask another question then. The next, services program spaces. Respondents want more inclusive furniture, better lighting, improved shelving, and easier navigation for seniors and patrons with mobility needs. Ultimately, that there's, yeah, we could tear down the building and build the perfect library building and spend, $100 million and whatever, but obviously that's not what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So how do I prioritize when I say, well, more inclusive furniture, okay, I can do that, it's gonna cost this much. Better lighting, okay, I can do that, it's gonna cost this much. Improved shelving, okay, I can do that, it's gonna cost this much. Now I'm like, wait, I don't have that much. Okay, so now what do? I gotta do one or the other, or I gotta do, kind of half big job on each.
Yep.
And
Phase
how
it,
do I decide?
So
phase it.
you're,
Well,
and
Yes, but on some levels, how do you prioritize?
She was gonna,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
you're
she's gonna
taking the
answer.
data very literally, which I appreciate very much, so I'm glad to know that about you. And this
He's a
isn't what
lawyer.
this conversation is intended to be. These aren't comments of like, how do I fix this, this, and this? This is, wow, there's a lot here. What's a process we could, as a board or the library staff, undergo to see what the solution to all of these things could be, like a phased building project of some kind for remodeling. So I appreciate that you're like, I want to fix these things because I like a doer, and that's not what strategy is about, Strategy is about, there's something here, we need to do something about the building, how do we engage in a process to handle that? Does that help?
Yeah, I guess, so, I guess I'm still a little, I think of strategy as, or on a law firm, right? I think of strategy as, okay, I need to develop clients in these and these and these business areas. These are the types of activities I'm gonna engage
Yeah.
in order to develop business in these and these
It's the
areas.
same thing. There's stuff about the building. So what are the these and these and these that I'm gonna do to get to like addressing these things about the building?
Right.
It's the same thing.
But inherently speaking, right, me as, there's a certain humility check. I feel like that every single one of us, the six of us in this room, not six of us in this room, the six trustees on this table, so I'm not trying to ignore everybody else in this room. The six trustees on this table, we're servants of the community, and we are also, bottom line, six individuals with each of our own ideas and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But the people who are gonna know the best about, hey, our shelves, they're fixed. So I've seen rolling library shelves in some places. Okay, we got fixed shelves. Maybe rolling shelves are good. Maybe rolling shelves are completely useless here. I don't know the answer to that question.
Sure.
Because I don't ask that question. I just assume, here are the shelves, let me go to
Yeah.
the shelving area that I want. But I'm not a librarian, nor do I have any expertise in a I've
Yeah.
just been to libraries with the rolling shelves, so I know how that, I know the mechanism by which they operate, that you can create additional space with the same amount of shelving, or additional shelving with the same amount of space.
Oh, Mayor, come on.
Sorry. I guess what I'm trying to say is, how is this process any different from us just going to Valerie and Victoria and department heads and asking the questions in the first place?
Because you're the ones who set those high level things. If you look at this and based on your feelings and what the data is and say, there's something here with the building that we need to deal with, and the goal is let's have a better building, right? Let's figure out different stuff. That's then the direction you give to staff, and then they operationalize that, right? They figure out, do we need rolling shelves? Do we need different furniture? Do we need whatever, right? But you all need to set the higher level, here's what we want you to focus on first before they can make those kinds of decisions.
But how is we need a better building a strategy at all?
Well, it's not.
like-
I'm just
it's,
talking in general
I
terms
guess
because
that's
we're
what I'm
not there
trying to
yet.
ask, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just,
You just
Are
are.
you sure?
yeah. It just comes out.
I think we just need to look at the big picture.
Oh, yes.
and what
Picture.
like, here's what I took away from this report. was
Yeah.
Two main things that popped out at me were, we need to reach the rest of the district.
Mhm.
That was clear from every angle. And then the other thing was, our marketing communication needs to, that's how we're gonna do it, right? So we need the marketing and communication department to do something completely different and new and big so that we can get to those people and serve them. That's what jumped out at me, so like big.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you.
Yeah,
And to answer that question, then,
why didn't you say that half an hour ago, Becky?
okay, so that, to me, that's something concrete, right?
Yes,
Maybe I get lost in the data.
Yes,
so
you
like-
do.
And that's why I read the executive summary and I'm like, I can't dig through all this detail
It's a
without.
lot.
it's a lot.
Um,
And like she said at the beginning, it's a big picture, it'll gradually,
And I'm
Where-
sure other
where
things
kids-
popped out to other people too, so that's just what.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I had two things. The unincorporated was, and has been for years, one of my number ones. Another one was reading some of the things from people saying, we have kids, we work 9 to 5. Hours need to be increased so we can better use the library and come with our kids. That has been something, our hours were cut back a little while ago, and that's something I thought should happen, because we need to consider people who are working 9 to 5, and who have families, and who want to get here with their kids.
So I appreciate that some of you are kind of starting to narrow a little bit. We're not quite there yet. So I'm still
No,
hoping
but
that,
those are
yeah.
my two main things.
yes, I love that. And I want to see if there's any other questions or comments about the data before we move to starting to narrow down things
No.
a little bit. Please go ahead.
I had some questions about, like where certain information came from.
Sure.
Some of this wasn't clear and understandable to me either.
All right.
It was in this report.
Yes.
The big guy.
The first report.
Okay,
Um,
yep.
See, that was second in my packet, so
Oh,
also that's confusing.
interesting. Okay.
Um,
So
The learning report.
That page number 5, community aspirations.
Which 5, the first 5 or the second 5?
So,
Learning
in the
report,
blue,
the big 65. The big report number
5 is
5.
A.
so it says community aspirations, number 1, human services, 2, communication, et cetera. My question is, did that information come from the focus groups? Where did this information? Okay,
So, yeah, the header on that page is focus groups
Right,
and interviews.
okay,
Yeah,
so-
so those are from the focus groups, yes, and interviews.
Okay.
Because those started with community aspirations and then talked about challenges and barriers and then talked about library aspirations. That was the
That's
structure of those conversations.
I got the 2 reports screwed up here. Okay.
so, for example, then number 1, human services says residents have access to food, mental health support, support for seniors, and other human services needs. These are things that they said in the focus group.
That was the aspiration for the community.
community.
Yeah, like
Yes.
they're
Okay.
dreaming, right?
Correct.
Got
Yes,
it.
okay, yep.
Okay.
The community aspirations on number 3 on
Yes.
page 5.
Yep.
We do have a public free bus.
Okay.
So,
Apparently that did not come up with the people that attended the focus groups and interviews.
okay.
So that's why that's there. And if you look at the community survey data, I think it was 60-some% didn't, said they had reliable transportation, so there's a big, it might be, I'm off on my number a little bit. There was a chunk of the respondents to the survey who said they did not have reliable transportation.
A large chunk.
Yeah, it was
Maybe
30%, I want to say,
30%, yeah.
of survey respondents, again, so, yeah. So people maybe don't know about the bus either.
Because it's got right in front.
Okay.
Something that's not in here that popped into my head earlier when, I don't know who was saying what, but like, when reaching the other parts of the district or other people who don't come into the library, a lot of a lot of the people in the district, like we noticed, speak all these different languages. Just the people that responded speak 45 different languages. We don't know how many other languages are out there or where these, where people are coming from all these different countries all over the world where they have, who knows what kind of libraries. So they don't, not everyone even knows what a library is supposed to look like here in this United States,
But I think it would encompass like a button saying if someone speaks Polish or Spanish or something, they can go to them directly and they can feel more welcomed. And
if they're
like,
here.
encompass that. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great idea. But what about
So-
people that aren't coming in here? Like,
No, but
that's what I'm saying, they don't even, not everyone even knows what,
But in terms of my actual information for marketing, like we discussed earlier, I'm just going to reiterate this. I think what we need to do is have trustees or our mayor, like we discussed, on one of our billboards of the Niles Free Bus, and people would see that, they would recognize that and incorporate that, or use Wi-Fi technology. I have all this information, I'm sorry, I have a lot. But I mean, we need to really focus on our marketing skills. We need to get eye-catching flyers and posters and call clear attention to our library. We need incentives like small rewards or swag or bookmarkers just to incorporate, like this is our library. Susie Smith won this, library award, and we can have her on the actual library bookmarker and have everyone come and incorporate that, or host even a community event, or develop a library ambassador program with passionate members with who promote the library services. We could have that even. And relaunch a Welcome Back to the Library campaign with event giveaways, do an open house with tours and demonstrate free membership, launch a Wi-Fi tech awareness campaign with workshops teaching patrons how to use digital resources. We need to revamp our programs to
I
match the
think a lot of the
community's
things you just
interests.
said are already being done.
We have
A
it.
lot of those
We
things are
have
already
a lot
being
of
done.
those
But
things
I'm
to
just
do.
saying, we need to revamp this whole
But we
entire.
can't revamp what yes, we do need, I think that's one of the things I pulled out was we need the marketing and communication department. A lot of opportunities are out there that we are not doing.
And
But a
then-
lot of the things that you said we have been doing for years.
But even for the mayor, invite the mayor here with the elected officials
How
and
is
have
that
them
gonna reach
speak.
people in the
You
district that
know
aren't
what,
coming in?
and then have what we're actually
And we're going in the
doing.
weeds.
The
Like, let's
mayor
go
is
back
great
out
for
to the big
people
part.
in Niles, but not in unincorporated.
But if you show them what we're actually expanding on in the library to promote what we're doing here, I think we would actually reach out to the community more. And reach out to them where this is our new library, this is a new beginning. You know, they could see what we're actually doing here.
Yes, that's what we do need them to see what we're doing here.
Yes.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Okay, I want to wrap up about the data before we go further into some
Thank
of these
you.
ideas, because I think these are all great things, but we want to see where there's consensus first, and we haven't, everyone hasn't had the opportunity to kind of narrow in on those things that they think we should focus on. So, other things that stood out to you in the report itself, questions about the report, anything else?
So, yeah, so it stood out to me that, like, the top things that people were saying, like the cafe and the book mobile,
Yeah.
those were the top things, but they really weren't, like, the numbers for them were not that
Correct.
high. Like,
Yeah, which that's frustrating, because
Yeah.
you want to be able to point to something and say, people want this, let's do
Yeah.
this. And you're right, they weren't very strong. I think, you know, there was a lot more evidence that showed you're on the right track with the things that you are doing currently. So, okay, then the question becomes, what of those things do we really feel is making a difference enough to do more of that? Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay, what stood out to me, and it's, I don't think it's gonna be way up
Okay,
here,
that's all right.
but, I was reading the same concerns throughout the report. Communications,
Mhm.
onboarding training, department transfer training, and department cooperation. And that would have come from the small report for staff and board.
Yeah.
And I guess my focus, well, back in the day, numbers and HR, that hit me real hard, the onboarding,
Sure.
real hard.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Anything else in the data? Is it time to start figuring out where we have priorities?
Or a break? Yet, or not yet, just questioning.
Sure, let's do a break right now.
All right.
Why don't we take about 8-ish minutes, we'll come back at,
4 minutes.
yeah,
Let me just walk around the room.
7:37.
That's all I need. To put it on a break. Oh. Yeah, we have to get Richard to put the screen on a break.
Do I stop this?
Because we're on a break. Okay. So sorry if I called it too early.
Nope, nope, you're good. We're flexible.
Ooh. There we go.
7:36.
7:36.
Okay. So, I mean, the next thing is to start narrowing down what you think those possible strategic directions should be. And this is an activity that each of you are going to do individually, quietly for a couple of minutes. You all have Post-it notes in front of you, these little 3x3 guys. You get up to 3 to write one topic per Post-it note that you think this is what the library should focus on. You've already talked about several of them, so I've got some spoilers already. I don't need you to go into a lot of detail on these. If you feel like marketing is the thing, just put marketing. If you have a specific thing, you can put it on that. I'm probably going to put it into a category. But I want you just to think on your own. And at the end of the time, when I see everybody done writing, you'll each get up and talk about what you wrote and put them up here, and we'll see where we've got that consensus. So take a couple of minutes quietly to work on that.
Only 3.
Only 3, and if you don't have to use all 3, but
No, I'm
you
gonna use
can't
them.
sell the other ones to someone else.
Although I'm pretty sure that did happen to some of us.
I saw it happening in real time, and I did not call them out.
I wasn't allowed
You got the wrong person next to you.
to. They steal a burger.
And we have to have 3?
No,
Good.
just have 1, you got 1. You just can't give your other 2 to somebody else.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody would want them. I'm trying to think of a 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
This color is what I like. You want one?
I like this color.
Do you? This just is so bright.
I need Tigger or Dick.
Yeah, put Russian on this.
He'll be back in a little while.
Yeah, I know, I just want to make sure we get his Post-its as well.
Oh, definitely.
All right, maybe take 2 more minutes to finish those up.
I know a person who comes here quite a bit. That would be a good person to test it, that I can think of right off.
Yeah.
Her name is, I think, is it Mary Grace?
Mary Grace Cooney.
She's,
I don't think she lives around here anymore. I think she's up in Arlington Heights at the Moorings.
yeah, but I don't know if she's still coming here as frequently as she did. And if she did, because she's starting to have some serious issues with mobility, I could so visualize her giving her honest opinion about what we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're mostly done. So here's what I'd love to see happen is for each of you to individually get up, talk about what's on your Post-its, put them up here on the board. So who wants to get us started?
I'll go.
Okay, please.
All right. Now. Okay. So, what I got out of it again, and this would be in the smaller survey, was I'd say library-wide training. And what I wrote for that was, because it was mentioned better communication, department cooperation, onboarding and department transfer training, and then staff present at the patron services desk at all times, which just kind of hit me from my background. Next, I picked up signage. People were, or their answers were they were having a hard time finding, I'm just gonna go X, Y, Z. And they even talked about this wall something, to be honest, I had to look up the definition, but it's like a diagram that, I don't know, connects everything. And then, well, okay, that was the signage. And then next, comments were more adult programming, LBGQT, etc., more senior programming, and programming for, hope I say it right, diverse, I had divergent, but diverse, right. That's what I came up with when I was at home. But I only got 3, so I have more after listening to everyone else, but maybe they're gonna cover that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would you like to go next?
Marketing and communication needs improvement. And then I have, working cultures together and more programs for the seniors and the deaf impaired as well. And those are my only 2 concerns that I have.
Okay. All right, who's next? Everybody's gonna go. so-
Never mind, you get a reprieve.
I pretty much gave my mouthful.
I know, but I need your Post-it notes.
Yeah.
It's part of the official record.
All right. Internal policy, procedure, communication, morale, unified staff. Talking to everyone. Inform all district residents of library offerings and engage, like I have informed, engage, I couldn't remember the last one. Engage with district residents who don't live in Niles in terms of providing services and getting library cards.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh,
who's
there.
next?
It's in Rich. Rich said that, though, not me.
I didn't put one of the ones I had talked about. I decided to just go with, adult programming.
All right.
Not putting a preference on seniors, but that would, we should reach out to our seniors.
Sure.
And library hours, after
Okay.
the concerns for the parents that work 9 to 5.
Okay. Okay. Roberto, please.
So my 3 are marketing, increase the opportunities for marketing. Next is building private business partnerships, and by that I mean opportunities, for example, to when there are book releases, partnership with a coffee or a brewery in our district to promote the library. And then the last one is intergovernmental agreements, so that we can again promote our library within the districts. There's a lot of opportunities with the Park District, with firehouses and other government agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor's not here, and we need to have this posted. This is why I usually do the break after this, so we're a little thrown off, and I'm putting it to the group. What do you want to do? Do you want to wait? Do you want to go forward?
We could ask him to get his,
I think we can go forward, he can always.
he can always add it.
Okay. Okay. So I think there's a couple clear areas that we want to dig into a little bit more deeply. Let me move this and propose those. Because I'd like to spend the next 45 minutes kind of going into these areas. So obviously marketing and communication is one that came up quite a bit with your Post-its. I want to kind of broadly talk about community engagement. I mean, obviously marketing and communication kind of falls under community engagement, but I love what Roberto said about partnerships and IGAs. I think that's a really key part of engagement. I mean, it's kind of a segment. I would argue that programs is under community engagement as well. I'm not sure you all need to talk about programs specifically. That's a little more staff-related function. If you have specific goals around programs, I don't want to hear what programs you want. Like, that's not your job. But if you're saying, like, programs are a way to engage people, like, yeah, that's great. So I think community engagement, specifically when it comes to partnerships and IGAs, kind of in my head, sort of the same thing. I know they're with different types of entities, but and then programs. I think that's a big area that came up. And then I'm going to say staff development as the third area. Some of the things mentioned are more operational. So for example, policies, procedures, that's operational. Some of that stuff's underway. But, you know, again, from your perspective as the board, like, what is it you want? I love that you said unified. Like, that's a goal. Like, how do we get the staff unified? Well, it's lots of things under that. Like, what are some of those things that come to your mind? The two other things that came up on the Post-its are hours and signage. Again, those are a little more operational / implementation. That's not really a strategy. I get that having more hours is a strategy to engage people. Maybe that comes in, you know, kind of later under that. And signage, I mean, is like, how are people using our building? So I hope you'd be okay not digging into those any deeper at this moment specifically. So I would say these kind of three areas, and maybe we actually start with community engagement because there could be a lot there. It's kind of a big area, but on our Post-its, the partnerships and IGAs and programs kind of fit under there. Then marketing and communication, which is also a sub thing of community engagement, but you all kind of had the, like, all right, for our unincorporated areas, like, that's a really important thing, but maybe there's some other stuff there too. And then staff development. You didn't get to do the Post-its.
Yeah,
so.
no, actually, everything I was thinking of, it's already covered, so
Brilliant.
we're good.
I love it.
But can I
Please.
just ask one? So you had said policies are more operational.
Yep,
I feel like policies and staff development kind of go hand in hand.
sure.
Because if your staff knows exactly what to expect because the policy is very clear, then
Yeah.
it's easier to do
It's
staff
kind, it's a
development.
building block, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So when we get to the, like, what I want you all to talk about as we spend dedicated time on each of these, probably 10 to 12 minutes per topic, because again, we're not solving all of these tonight, we're just having a discussion about them, is, so what's it gonna take to make this better? And if you say, continuing to focus on policies and procedures is the building block that's gonna make everything else better, cool, we'll write that down. It may make it into a goal, it may not, it may be more of an operational thing, we'll see. But I mean, I get what you're saying, absolutely. Okay, so are you all good with focusing in for a little bit on these three things?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, so what I want to do then is start with the community engagement. And if we had more time, we would go like really in depth on these. And I greatly appreciate the discussion you all had about the data. I think it was really important to kind of have that context and where all of you are at in terms of thinking about your district as a whole. So what I really want to focus in on here is, what is it that we want to see? If we say engaging the community is really important, and we've already identified thinking about partnerships, especially like with businesses or just creative ways that we can get in front of more people. IGAs, so governmental entities that maybe have aligned missions. We can use our programs, especially you all mentioned seniors, kind of different identity groups, and, well, adults in general, but also different cultural groups. Those are ways that we can engage our community. I'm really looking for from you, like, what is it that we want? Like, what does an engaged community look like? If 3 years from now you all could say, wow, our community is really engaged, what is it that looks like? Yes.
So to me, if you look at that map, and my comment about proximity, it would be that your usage takes on a proportional distribution, not an even distribution,
Okay.
but essentially a shade. So your people who are closest are gonna show up in a greater proportion, we know that. But if the shade, the people who are 2 miles away south in Niles, and the people who are 2 miles away up north in unincorporated, if that share, like, 3 out of 10 households, whatever it is, right, however you calculate that data. If that share were to be, that distribution were to be whatever, an equal, like a, I'm trying to, like essentially a graph, right? Your center
Yes.
is the darkest, your outside is the lightest. I want a uniform distribution
Okay, that terrifies
of
me.
usage.
If I'm Valerie, that terrifies me because I don't have control whether those people are coming to the library
I'm
or
not saying that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that's what you're aiming for.
Okay,
I'm not saying like,
but-
how do you get there?
Okay, so you tell me, how do you get there? Because that comes down to people's values, right? Like, do I value reading? Is it important to me to be able to access information
I
or come to the
don't
library?
know that that's really the case.
Okay, it
though.
comes down to habits then. Do I know
Because-
the library exists? Do I have a habit of going?
Because, you know, and I don't want to invoke the past, but I will just by way of example. There's an individual who said, oh, well, why do we need libraries at all? We can all just go online and buy our books and so on and
Yeah,
so forth,
sure.
right? So if you take that angle, you say, well, why do we need libraries at all? Well, we need libraries, A, because, you know, not everybody has a resource to buy everything that they want to buy. Number one, it's a better distribution of community resources. If I buy a book, I use it, I
Fair.
read it twice, and then it goes into, you know,
A collective
pile,
pool,
yeah,
and
a
yeah.
collection of books that I've already read. Whereas if I buy a book as a library and it gets used 17 times over the course of every year, then that is a better use of each printed page than me who read
For sure.
it twice.
But that's a value.
Right.
Like, I could want to hoard my books and not share them and
Yeah,
not care if
but I'm
anybody.
But that's, you know, like, I'm not, like, what I'm saying is, so I don't think it comes down to evaluating how people consume information
Okay.
and catering to that evaluation. And so I doubt that living in Maine Township, unincorporated Maine Township, changes the way you access information. Like me, by living in unincorporated Maine Township, I don't automatically have a different way of accessing information than say Kathy does by virtue of the fact that I live in unincorporated
Sure,
Maine Township, right?
fair.
It's not like it. So yeah, the distribution should be, but if our distribution is way skewed to Niles, which we believe it probably is, then we got to basically say, okay, what means of accessing information, whether they be more availability of online books, whether they be more availability of whatever, are going to, what means of accessing information are going to bring the lighter shaded areas, meaning lower percentage usage, to match the equidistant areas.
So what's going to motivate people to use the library?
Yeah. That's,
Okay,
the complicated way of saying that.
Yes,
okay,
I'll agree with you.
go ahead.
My habit.
Just a thought with community engagement, and this might again be operational, but if we could, I'm gonna say, like, we dedicate summer reading programs for adult and children. If we could dedicate program for unincorporated areas, target them, I don't wanna say bombard them, but, you know,
But then you have to go
mailers and, you know, do you know that with your address, even though, just hypothetical, you live in Glenview or Des Plaines, your library is Niles Main District Library. And then,
What are the
From-
things they can get?
wait, whoa, I don't, please, I
sorry.
can't do that. And then, if you can get the people in, and maybe they're then gonna tell you what they would like to see here to be more involved.
Okay. There's two things here, and I think they're both really important. One is, how do we target the people that we want to see coming into the library? Some of that maybe is partnerships, some of that's maybe through programs, some of that's
we,
maybe
you know,
marketing.
put
communication.
tables up like at
Absolutely.
Main Township, this or, I don't
Village
know.
Township Hall.
Yeah, so, you know,
Ponies.
Or
Or-
special functions.
Right.
Yeah.
So an engaged community looks like equal distribution because we've reached these areas that we want to target, right?
Right.
We've found out what's going to motivate them to use us. But then, and I think this is really key, what you said, get feedback from them about what would keep them coming back, right? Because this is all about, it's not about the target of check, the distribution is even, right? It's about what did we learn from that and how do we use that to become better, right?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
To me,
Yes.
from talking to people, senior citizens, whatever, I feel a lot of people don't know what a library really
Yeah,
offers.
that's fair.
And I feel we need to let people know what their card will give them.
Sure.
There are so many things online that, I'll be honest, I like coming into the library. But I'm lazy a lot of times and like just going online and getting the stuff online.
Sure. So how do we make sure the perceptions of folks are updated,
Yes,
not just for everybody?
that we
Yeah.
don't just have books.
Yeah, okay.
We're
Fair.
not just books.
Okay, so an engaged community is informed about what the modern library, what our library offers. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
more than just books.
Okay, so back to the question. So what does an engaged community looks like? We've got more or equal distribution. I want to say more instead of proportional. It's more distribution of people using the library because we understand what their motivation is. We've targeted them with communication, but then we're getting feedback to use to then complete this loop, right? That we're getting more than to use the library. And that's helping reshape in people's minds what the library looks like. Yeah? What else would you add to that? We already have partnerships, IGAs, and programs, so we know that that's up there as potential ways to engage people.
One of the things I'm thinking, which might be, my whacked brain, but that's fine, is when people are signing up for a card, even give them, these are things that in case it's a senior or something that doesn't necessarily go looking things up on the library website. Say, these are things that are available with your card.
Like your benefits.
Well, why
Your
don't you give them
benefits.
make it a pamphlet?
That's what I'm saying. If we have even a sheet of paper or a pamphlet or something, these are your benefits from
Yeah,
having.
so that's our captured audience. They're coming
Yeah.
here already. So how do we make sure that they're informed?
Yes.
Because there's lots here. They may be coming just for books, but then they find out, oh gosh, you've got streaming stuff or whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
It's got Victoria's art.
Any other community engagements? I want to talk more deeply about marketing and communication specifically, but are there other, what does an engaged community look like? Have we covered it? Okay. To me, this is like an engagement pipeline. Any of you that have done sales or think about political campaigns or fundraising, it's how do we get that awareness? Who do we want to reach with that message so that they know everything that we offer? Then we get them to buy, right? So we find out what's going to motivate them to come in and buy and get a card. Then we're going to ask them what's going to keep them coming back, right? And it's thinking of what are those systems and structures? Who are in those different categories? We know a lot of our unincorporated folks are in the, I don't even know. I don't know I can come there. I don't know what the library is about. I don't know if the library is for me. So we know we have a lot of work to do with that group so we can start to move them through this pipeline, right?
I still feel people might think we have a lot of seniors coming, but from dealing with senior community in the area, I think there's a lot of seniors out there who don't want to bother with their library card
Yeah.
or coming in.
So it's not just
But
unincorporated.
if we let them know, you don't need to come in to use your card, to me, maybe they'd be more motivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just our unincorporated areas. There's other
Groups.
audiences, yes, that we could reach out to, for sure. Yes.
I like Kathy, for marketing communication, I like Kathy's idea of this is your library, little postcards, not the newsletter. Because when I get the newsletter, it's a multi-page, whatever. I may or may not see it. I may or may not go through all of it if I'm in a hurry, right? But if I get, this is your library located
One
at
piece, maybe
67.
double-sided.
Or
Yeah.
you can do a Wi-Fi too, send out blurbs on, Facebook pages and things of that nature too.
You
Yeah,
could,
but
but I
not
think it.
everybody goes there. Sorry,
I
Kathy.
know, but I'm just thinking to capture as many people
Yeah,
as possible.
So there's an Everything Niles page that I'm a part of. There's also a Des Plaines community page that I'm part of. And it's weird, you're at Des Plaines Library. I mean, we're not trying to encroach on Des Plaines Library turf, but people in the Everything Des Plaines page may well be residents of unincorporated.
Absolutely. I hear it every day, every single day at the library. What do you mean I can't get my library card here? Gotta go now.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is if, again, we're thinking 3 years out here, this is gonna be a 3-year plan, probably with the possibility of extending it to 5, we'll see. But what I'm hearing is, if we can, in 3 years, say, gosh, we're really hitting it out of the park with marketing and communication, what we focused on is certain audiences, so thinking about what's the message, what are the words we wanna get out, but it's smaller bites, because people's attention spans are not great, right? So it's smaller bites, and that we've thought about who is this audience we're trying to reach, and then where are they? Are we hitting them on social media? Are we hitting them through little postcards? Are we getting them with the "We Are Your Library," whatever? Is that what we're looking at for marketing and communication? How we feel in 3 to 5 years, this is what it should look like, what we're doing. And we also have the updating perceptions, that kind of crosses over with some of the messaging, I feel like. But are there other things?
I think there's opportunities kind of related to what Roberto said with other businesses
Yes.
and IGAs in there that we could leverage for both parties.
Yeah. So that's not sound bites, that's relationship
Yes.
building, right?
Yes.
We can spotlight businesses, they can spotlight the library.
Yeah, and so talk a little bit more about that. When you think about relationship building and representing the library and who maybe you want to target for this, what does that look like for you and how does that happen?
I'm not sure if my answer is the answer
Okay.
to the question, but I've had this idea in my head so I am a librarian too. I work at Des Plaines and
Awesome.
have had in my head why doesn't the library do kind of Sue, I think you've touched on this in the past, where it could either be a podcast or an interview or something, go out and work with the Chamber of Commerce and get the new businesses, and the library does a blurb on this new business. The business gets promoted, and then you go to that business and, oh, look, there's something from the library. So that's my answer, and I don't know if that's too small of an answer for the big picture thing.
We would have to figure out how they would get or how we would advertise or whatever at the business, but that would be by communicating with the business itself, or
But you can even promote schools as well. You could piggyback on them, just to give you an example. Notre Dame, and you can actually have Notre Dame and the library represented, and you're piggybacking with one another, because young students would need to go to the library for the research papers or whatever, and you would do that, so then you would see that the capabilities are extending to other possibilities, so that would even be better.
Jason had an idea in the beginning when he was running, with the parks, have a reading garden in the park, and or we could have a story walk in the park, which we have had, that promotes the library too, but have it maybe in D Park instead of in Nico Park, things like that.
That makes sense.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to our awesome marketing and communications head,
Yeah.
who is taking diligent notes. But part of
And has
all
their
of
own
this,
ideas.
pardon?
And has their own ideas, sorry.
Right,
jumping
but
in.
part of this is giving her time to actually implement her vision, because she's relatively,
Yes.
what, 6 months in the role? Or
Uh-huh.
a year? Yeah, so,
But severely understaffed.
right,
Yeah.
and so, but she's also got a vision for what she wants to do with this, and she hasn't had enough time to get, so
Sure.
we don't even know, which of these, you've already planned out,
Right,
so,
Totally fair.
I think that's a fair assessment, we can't just,
Yeah.
take a department that's complete,
I
And
do
revamped
want to
them.
say, and to extend that recognition, this is actually very affirming for us. The whole process, even going through this with the staff and going through this with the board, they're all things that we have seen also as a leadership team and have started to think about, and it's nice to see that we're all on the same track and the same page.
And I'll say, and I told you all that I would tell you what the staff talked about. They talked about community engagement in terms of, hold on, I've got it here. Well, they talk about outreach kind of specifically as a subcategory of community engagement, but they did talk about marketing and communication, gave some very specific ideas for that. They also talked about technology. We know there's a replacement plan for technology, but we wanted to get ideas on, is there other technology that we're missing? They gave some ideas just on building stuff, which I know signage was one of the building things that came up. And then staff development, which is our third area that we're gonna talk about. So again, very aligned.
can I give
Please.
shout out to technology director who is replacing all of our computers, so.
Yeah.
All the complaints that we have about, we need to update our computers, so it's already being addressed.
Sure.
I guess, so part of the question is patrons don't, and maybe if they show up to board meetings, but But patrons, for by and large, don't necessarily know what we're already addressing.
Right,
And addressing stuff takes time, right? Like Rich
For
can't
sure.
like snap his fingers and then
No.
all of a sudden, all the new computers are installed and all the software is updated and, well, maybe he
Takes a
can.
lot of time.
But these things are going over time, so some of this stuff is, I'm trying to say, it's, you know, it's like taking a survey of 2 years ago,
right,
because we're already there, we already know that,
yeah,
and now we're implementing it, and so if you ask somebody, oh, we really need new computers, you got it, covered. And so now what else do we need?
sure.
I don't know, you already took care of what I wanted, you know?
Yeah.
So,
So when it comes to marketing and communication, what I'm hearing is that the goal is to be more strategic about it. That, you know, we know some audiences that we want to reach. We're already thinking about them in terms of engagement. We know that there are plans in the works that we need to give our team some time. I guess my question is, thinking about some of these folks that we might want to partner with, businesses, other government entities, schools, like, what is your hope as the board? Is it quantity or deep quality? And those are two different approaches, right? Like, there's no end to the number of people you could partner with, but is that what you want as the board?
about quality.
Doesn't it
Quality.
depend? For
Tell me
example, we have events here and we have certain
Yeah.
companies that will
Sure.
come and represent themselves at our events.
Uh-huh.
And they might give away things, they might not, but
Yeah.
that's not necessarily deep
Sure.
like you're talking, but it is something.
I love
And I
that.
think that's important too.
Yeah, so it's thinking of what are those levels of partnership that we might want to have, and who are, like, the schools, yeah, we probably want to go deeper with them, right? Because they're capturing an audience we want. We want children, we want their families to come in. The senior center, I don't know that you have one, but
We do, right
okay,
across the
great.
street.
That's
Right across the street.
amazing. That's a deeper partnership because they're across the street. We know we want that audience. But, you know, like a new business in town, like, sure, we're happy they're here. Like, what could we offer them and what could they offer us? If it's not much, then maybe we don't spend a lot of time on that. You see what I mean? So it's
Right,
levels of partnerships. Make sense?
I would think it would be quality over quantity, because if you go quantity, you're gonna be so thin,
Yes. Okay.
you're not gonna know what way to turn.
And,
So I mean, if you get good, solid relationships,
Sure. Okay.
can I interject a
Please.
little bit?
Yes.
At the board level, what we would need help with, so that businesses don't feel that we're promoting one over the other or sponsoring one over the other, we would have to come up with a policy of criteria for how we would select who we work with, how we rotate types of businesses. So that would be at the board level, thinking for something like that, because we need similar things for program partnerships as well, as far as who we work with, because we can't work with everybody. We can't promote every business. So that's what the idea about this is, defining scope. And I think that's what Amanda was referring to, is like, we have a very deep relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, for example. They meet here once a month, we go to their events, like, it's a very strong partnership. We have other area businesses who sponsor, like, coupons for our summer reading program, and that's the level of
Yes.
partnership we have, so.
Yeah, so
Trying to
thinking about
clarify
the
that.
scope,
So-
exactly.
You know, part of like, and this doesn't work in a public body like this, but part of what like private institutions do is, you know, you donate a certain amount of money, you buy, essentially buy yourself access, right? Like you're, if
like
you're a
naming
private
right?
school, no, if you're a private school, right, and you want a full page ad on the thing, you donate, you know, you give
Oh.
$1,500 or get your
Okay.
full page ad, you
Yeah.
give 3,000, but we can't do that as a public
The
institution, so
Friends
how do
of
we?
the Library could do that if we reestablish a Friends of the Library, which I have seen in other libraries.
Yes,
We
that,
cannot do
But I
that,
think
but.
if-
Right, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
since we can't.
Yeah, no, you got higher, Sue, come on. Yeah, there you go. All right, then you're recognized.
Okay, so my thing is, if we create social media and collaborate with local schools for like the STEM programs to co-host an event, I think that would be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, co-hosting is like a level of partnership, right? Like, it's not a lot of investment, but we do a
Right.
thing together, and you know,
And we're still
Yeah,
getting our names out
and
there.
we reach a certain audience maybe through that. Absolutely.
just like Battle of the Books,
That
I
we
think
do
is a
annually,
very important thing we do with the school.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anything else on marketing and communication? I think we've got some good feedback there.
One more thing.
Yes,
We can-
please.
We could create a mobile hotspot as well
Okay, what does
for
that
the
mean?
library. So, Rich, you can explain this a little better, more in detail for the hotspots for libraries. So it's like a collaboration of media
Mhm.
where it goes through the actual, what is it? How can I explain it? Because my daughter was trying to explain it to me.
I think I know what you're talking about. We did this in Broward County Library, where the library would partner with, it's a bigger library system. It partnered with the airport and partnered with some of the local parks and offered Wi-Fi in that park and in that airport
Collaboration. yeah.
in collaboration. So those, because the library provided those things and provided access to ebooks that people could download
Mhm.
to get on a plane and things,
Mhm.
that's a level of partnership, but it's a very high level of partnership, something we could consider though.
Mhm. Yeah,
But that
okay.
would be
So
beneficial.
to be in different locations essentially is what
Yes.
you're saying. Okay, okay. All right, anything else on marketing communication? Are we ready to talk about staff development?
We're, whatever you are ready to go
Okay,
to, Bill.
that's your meeting. So, let's talk about staff development and, again, there were several things brought up already in terms of communication and cross-training policies, procedure, that sort of thing. And again, my question to you all is like, what do you want to see? If 3 years from now you can say our staff is engaged, our staff is unified, I love that word. What does that mean? What does that look like? How are things different maybe than they are now?
And no disrespect to anything, but I'm just gonna, or anybody, but possibly better training, that better onboarding and, transfer training, oh wow, can't do that. That's not being done now.
Okay. So
And
Sorry,
what that would look like, I don't know, because I don't know what the current onboarding is. I just know what
Okay.
it was like 8 years ago,
Yeah.
but that's not helpful.
I agree. And I guess my question to you is, I hope this isn't too nebulous, like, why do we care if people are onboarded well?
Because they need to have knowledge, so they need to know how to access their insurance, how many personal days, how many vacation days, what holidays they get, what
Yeah.
floater holidays they get.
If everyone gets the same information, they are going towards being unified.
Right,
Yeah.
instead of, I thought I got this or this, no. Everyone gets the same, I like the word, unified training, unified information. And from there, you would hope everyone then will be on the same page, moving
Or closer to it,
moving forward.
So being
more ownership.
being in charge, being
But you want your staff to be more knowledgeable, more hands-on.
Yeah, so there's two areas to
Right.
this. Like that's what I wrote down. You want knowledge to do your job. You want everyone to have the same level of like competence in doing their job. But you're saying, understanding like, how do I be a part of this team, right? That I know what my benefits are, I know who to talk to about what. Because to feel like you're supported as a staff member, you have to have both of those things. You have to understand what it means to be on the team and then do the things to help the public as part of your job, right? Does that make sense?
And you have to be
twofold.
well respected
Yeah.
too, from your coworkers as well as your team members.
Okay, what does that mean to you, to be well
So
respected?
meaning that they respect you as an individual, they
Okay.
respect your ideas, they support you.
Okay. Interesting. So that makes me think about like team dynamics, right? Like that
It's team dynamic.
you have taken accountability for yourself as a member of this team, and you're doing what you need to do so that you can work with the rest of your team, kind of on that equal, unified level. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yes.
Okay, I like that. So you're an equal team member. And I want to write down accountability here too, because I think that that's really critical, that maybe is something that gets a little lost sometimes when I see things like some of the comments in your capacity assessment. I think sometimes, and I don't know that this is the case, I don't want to make assumptions, that staff feel like, well, things should happen, and then I'm just gonna, receive the the benefit from that, or I'm just gonna go along with it, right? And what I want to say is every staff member has a responsibility to participate actively in their employment and to seek out, I'm not saying you shouldn't have better onboarding. I don't know, probably do. Most places probably do need better onboarding. I'm not saying you shouldn't have that. And like, I have to pay attention to that. As a team member, I have to ask questions. I have to be engaged in that. If I'm frustrated about something, I can't just complain to my coworker. I need to go to the people who can make a difference, right?
And
So be
that's the big-
proactive about
yeah,
my
big thing.
employment.
Don't
right?
go to the coworker, don't gossip, come to the people that know the answers.
Right, so I'm gonna be proactive, and that's when I think about how culture is shaped in organizations, it does take everyone. I mean, certainly there's power dynamics at play,
Mhm.
right? I mean, even including you as the board, and then the leadership is kind of the next level of that. But that doesn't mean that there can't be lines of communication to talk about that. And the staff said, we feel like we do have opportunities to give feedback. I don't know what happens after they give the feedback, maybe that's where there's a little bit of a disconnect. And I think through this process and the staff feedback that we got this morning or this afternoon was we want to be active and proactive in helping shape the culture. So I'm hearing you all say like, yeah, that seems reasonable to us too. Okay, what else? When you think about a unified staff, what does that look like to you?
Maybe the same, well, okay, you have your standard policy,
Mm-hmm.
but then making sure that that policy is interpreted
Yep.
consistently, correctly
Yep.
by every single, I don't know, let's say supervisor or every single employee, so someone's not reading between the lines or was told, oh, no, even though it says this, we can do this. No, this is it.
Yeah,
It's
That's
more black and white than,
yeah, that's
Then great.
huge, and that requires communication, which we know that's something else that needs to go up here too. Because if a patron experiences different interpretations, that's very unsatisfying to them, and we know we have high satisfaction amongst the people who responded to the survey. We want to keep that up, and if staff members are applying policies inconsistently, it creates frustration amongst the staff themselves because then they aren't being that, they don't have each other's backs, right? And so it breaks down this respect and trust on the team as well.
Right, because let's say Department A can do da-da-da-da-da, but Department B, because they're
Yeah.
adhering to the policy, can't do it. Well,
Absolutely, you're very right. Do you want to say anything about your work that you've been doing on like procedure development?
Yes. We, as a leadership team, completely agree and recognize that we need onboarding practices to be updated and policies and procedures. What I hear, for the board to know and for the public and the staff to know as well, what I hear from the leadership team is that when we lost a good amount of staff a couple of years ago, we lost a lot of institutional knowledge that was never written down. And to rebuild that almost from scratch can take years. And we are concertedly working towards that. So we've started developing standard operating procedures across departments, and we need those before we can have a true onboarding process. Because if you don't have the procedures to train on, why would you have a list of procedures that don't exist? So a lot of our training is done informally, which has been the case here from what I've been told, over 30 years. And we are working on developing these processes, and they take time, and they take full commitment from the staff to help us with their notes, with their, so we can find where the gaps are of what
with their
people are
knowledge.
learning, with their knowledge.
Yeah.
And then we're talking across departments and with department heads to make sure about the consistency across departments. And that takes time. So we are aware and we have plans and we have started to work on it. We've also been bringing in outside vendors such as CCS for our library consortium to do training for the staff that are here. And we've brought in, who else have we brought in, Victoria, do you remember?
Like our
vendors, Ingram,
to
yep.
do training on ordering
Yeah.
and collections.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. All right, that's all sounds awesome. I wanted to capture the internal communication. We already talked about that a little bit. and how that's, kind of the bedrock for all of this to make sure people have the information that they need. I also want to say, and I love what you were saying about orientation and making sure people are on board, they understand the systems, have knowledge to do their job. Onboarding doesn't end when it ends. It's an ongoing, like every year, people should be kind of onboarded because things happen during the year, and maybe you've gotten the communication out about it, but to go back and like, all right, is everybody, now at this kind of level? So it's, and there's lots of ways that you can do that, obviously. You're trickling out stuff all the time, but then when do we kind of stop for a moment and be like, all right, is everybody kind of up to speed on all of the things that you need to know internally with just the system of working here and knowledge to do your job too, so. Anything else on staff development?
One other thing,
Please.
just for the board to be aware of, I just finished working with HR Source, which you are all aware of, that we are developing a new personnel policy manual that's gonna be over 80 pages. And so the next step in that is to go to the policy committee to review, but it has been reviewed by an HR Source employment attorney. And so that that process alone took several months, and it's a big project, so that type of thing, it takes time. That's why we're planning for 3 years and not 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of these things may take beyond the 3 years too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, things do take a lot longer than you think they're going to. Okay. Anything else when you think about a unified, engaged staff in 3 to 5 years? Is there anything else that looks like that we haven't talked about?
I think the personnel policies should hopefully, because we haven't really had strong personnel policy set down in writing.
Okay.
I think that hopefully should make a big difference,
Mm-hmm.
and then this other stuff along with it.
Yeah, it's all building blocks, right, for
Yes.
different things. Yeah, and you don't want to get ahead of yourself either.
Right.
You can't also throw all this at people at one time without kind of taking some of these steps. So as frustrating as that might be sometimes for staff who sees we need all these things, we want them now, it is a process, right, to develop some of this. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Anything else on any of these, community engagement, marketing, communication, staff development? Because I want to set these aside for just a minute as we talk about vision and mission statements. Anything else on your mind at the moment before we kind of take a little bit of a turn? Okay. So on the last page of your handout is the current mission statement. And let me just talk a little bit generally about vision and mission. So organizations typically have a vision and mission statement. The vision is outwardly facing. It is, this is our aspiration for the community. It's usually short. It's kind of a tagline type of thing. It's something that's catchy and easy to remember. So it's something that if you say your vision statement to a community member, they could interpret it for themselves. They could be like, yeah, I get what that means. I understand how that fits for me or my family, and that motivates me to potentially want to be involved with the library. Your mission then is usually longer, it's more concrete, and it says, this is what we do as an organization in order to hopefully help people achieve their vision, right? So the way I think about this for you as board members is you're at your neighborhood block party and somebody says, oh, you're on the library board, like, what good is the library? Vision statement, hopefully short, compelling. So somebody would say, well, how are you going to do that? Mission statement, right? You may not be able to memorize your entire mission statement, but hopefully you would know the building blocks of it so that you could tell them a little bit about that. Now, when you look at this last page, you will notice you currently don't have a vision statement. You do have a mission statement. It's that the mission of the Niles Main District Library is to engage, inform, enrich, and educate its community. I want to pause here and ask Valerie or Victoria to say, where did this come from, this statement?
I was not here when it came up, so.
Our last strategic plan.
Okay, the last strategic plan. Okay, so how long ago was that?
Oh,
Maybe?
God.
10
Close
years
to
or better.
10 years.
I think it was 2017.
So it's been a while. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I would say that your mission statement is actually a vision statement. And if you look at just the 4 main words there, engage, inform, enrich, and educate, like that's a great kind of vision. Like if you said, like, here's what we want for people in our community to be engaged, informed, enrich, and educate. Like, cool, that sounds really great. What is missing from the statement is how are you going to do that? And typically that would be something more like through, access to information, program, service, whatever, something more
So
boring and
the-
concrete like that.
Missions, that, like you said, would be more of a vision,
Yes,
so, okay? Put that under vision, and then how we're gonna do it would be the mission.
yeah, yes, and.
And,
I don't, it might not be quite that clean as, and
oh,
if
geez,
if you all.
thank you a lot.
If you all say, I like that, because those 4 words, engage, inform, enrich, and educate, you are kind of using as a tagline. I've noticed downstairs it was on the
Yes.
podium.
Yes,
So that would be easy. You're already using those words. If you like those words, cool. Make that your vision. I would say just use those 4 words. That's a very kind of popular way just to have like 4 words. And then we can come up with your mission. Cool. That sounds like it's going to work for you.
easy peasy.
It seems like
lemon
maybe other
squeezy.
people might have other thoughts. So let's get those thoughts. So go ahead. Do you have thoughts on vision and mission?
No, I just decided that I was wrong.
Okay. All right. So
So I don't want to say it.
okay. So I'm hearing that
Seriously?
potentially.
Yeah, I thought of something and then I figured that it didn't make any sense.
Okay. So and again, we're not rewriting the statements tonight or writing new statements tonight. I just want to get your thoughts, and then my team will go back and develop something. We'll take it to the planning team. We'll bring it back to you. You're saying
I
go with what
personally
we
like
have.
those words.
You like the words. Got it. Who else
And
likes the
think
words?
they would be a good, if you feel it fits more with visions, then put it under vision.
Yeah.
I like the words, I'm just questioning the order of them.
Okay.
Which is cool. I don't care what order they are in, I like the words.
Okay, we can talk about order later. We don't need to decide that tonight. I mean, unless you, in your head, here's the order. What's the order?
I don't, that's what
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
thought I was wrong about.
Do others
Yeah,
like these
working on-
words, or do you have, again, given the conversation we just had about what's important to you, what you want to focus on, do you feel like there's other words? And I just want to say one thing, and I don't usually kind of go this heavy-handed. Educate to me is like a school word, like that's what schools do. I'm not saying you don't educate as a library. I would lean more towards like a lifelong learning type word versus educate.
Such as,
Lifelong learning. I mean, something about learning versus educate. I don't know.
I
That's just-
personally, I'm cool with that.
I like educate.
You like educate.
I
Okay,
like
that's
what-
cool. I mean, it's
like
your
what
vision
you're-
statement.
I'm flexible to a certain degree.
I love it. All right. Do others have thoughts about these words? Like them, not like
I
them?
think I like the words. I'm not, I don't feel like
They're,
I'm married to them. I
Okay.
also kind of like the idea of word, it doesn't have to be the word reach, but something with that idea of, because that's what we're
Outreach?
trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Is to
yeah,
reach
well,
more
that's where
people.
engage,
Yeah,
I
but it's
think, is
not
good,
about
too.
you. It's about what you want people to
Statement.
experience. So by reaching them, what do they experience? Growth, maybe, or I mean, again, that they're engaged, they're informed, they're enriched, and they're educated. So yeah, I like that. Yeah, they feel part of it. So I mean, that makes perfect sense when we've been talking about our unincorporated areas. What do we want for them? We want them to feel like they belong with us, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a vision word or a mission word, it sounds a little,
Squishy.
yeah.
That's what vision is. I mean, mission is where we can get very concrete, but belonging is in a lot of vision statements for libraries.
You don't like the squishiness?
It's too squishy.
Okay,
It's like,
that's okay. I get it.
belonging to
We're not
what?
finalizing any words right
We're not
now. I'm trying to
finalizing
get
it.
the
I'm just
feeling
getting
across.
ideas tonight. So yes,
And I
exactly.
have no issue with changing the word educate
Yeah,
to something that's similar in meaning. Like
Yeah.
you said,
sure.
learning,
Right.
whatever.
Community.
Commu-
I'm just throwing out words that I want.
community is a good word.
Okay. Are there other words that we like when we think about what we want people to experience in our community?
Elevate.
Okay, I like that. That they have a higher quality of life or experience because an elevated experience because they're connected with the library. Okay.
Supported.
Support it. Mm-hmm. I like that too. I mean, that gives my team a good start. Are any other words burning? for any-
Enhance.
Okay. All right, how about mission? When you think about, like,
Empower.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Empower.
Empower.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Talk about
Thinking of
That is a
squishy.
very good word. It's not at all squishy.
Not
I know,
squishy.
I'm teasing him. I'm giving it back what he gave me when I first walked in.
I know,
this
that-
room,
You can tell I'm doing the same thing.
All of my words start with E, so.
Hey,
You just have one big E and then.
Wow.
E, we put a big E and then empower, educate, like you can
Okay.
have like,
This gives my team stuff to work with. When you think about mission and you think about, here are the core things that we do, what are some of those words that come to mind? This is not what we want people to experience. This is what we do as a library to hopefully help people get to these
experience, what about that?
experience. Okay.
Access.
Yes.
Yes.
What else?
Inform, again.
Sure,
I
yep.
feel works. Support.
Yep. Okay. What else?
Acceptance.
Love that. Anything else? I mean, my favorite library word, which you haven't mentioned, and again, I usually don't, I'm not this heavy-handed, but I love the word connect because it means so many different things, you know,
Yeah,
for
it is a good
libraries.
word.
So it kind of goes with access, but all right.
We accept it.
Yeah, thank you.
Was there another word with ACC at the beginning?
Yes, you're very good at words. What is your non-squishy word?
You need a C?
ACC, access, acceptance.
Okay.
Give me another one. I'm just kidding.
Accentuate.
That doesn't fit.
I mean, you know, again, what we'll get
Go
to
ahead,
eventually
Nancy.
is we have these things for you, right? And here's how it is that we help you get to those things. Are there any other words? I like these.
Collaborate.
Oh, I like that one too. Yeah, you know, that one feels good based on what you were just talking about, like with partnerships and stuff, so. Cool. Okay. This helps for now. Again, we'll come up with stuff, we'll bring it back to, planning team will review it, they'll bring it to you. If you don't like it, we'll throw it out and start over. If you like it, we'll massage it from there and finalize it at the October meeting, okay? Okay, wow, you guys did really good on time. So here's what I want to ask right now. We've talked about a lot of different things. We've gone through the data, we've gone through possible strategic directions, goals. I'm curious what we're missing. Like when you think about core culture and strategy and core stuff that's going to be happening is like operations, right? So if you think about internal culture, we talked about staff development. If you think about strategy, we talked about how do we engage people, how do we communicate with them. But did we miss anything? Like when you came here tonight, well, you had notes, I'm really impressed, about what you wanted to talk about. Did we get to everything, or is there anything that you feel like, you know what, we really didn't cover this very well? Because I don't want you to leave here and feel like we really missed an opportunity to talk about something that would have impact.
I understand this exercise a little better now,
Oh, great.
but I'm still like feeling like we have a bunch of, like, I could make this mission statement for any library, and you know,
Yeah.
it's more my creativity as a writer to try to determine what sounds cool than an actual concrete
Sure.
plan of action. Because like a strategic plan is about, we need to do these things over the next 3 years, and I don't feel like
Yeah.
I really feel like, okay, this is what we should do concretely in
Yeah.
the next 3 years to make the library a better library.
Yeah, so that wasn't our goal tonight. Our goal was to have a good discussion. So do you feel like we had a good discussion about the future of the library?
Sure.
Okay, so the next step then is for my team to go back and synthesize all of this, right? And put together what you're talking about. Here's what we should focus on more specifically based on the feedback that you and the staff gave and the community data too. So we're gonna get there. So this is still trusting the process. And what I also want to say is that a strategic plan for a library is, if you go back to the very first page of your handout, what you're going to see in the strategic plan document is vision, mission, strategic directions, and goals. That's the strategic plan. The implementation stuff, the more specific stuff, that's where we say, all right, staff, go figure out how to do that stuff. That's activities, evaluation, and reporting, right? So even with the strategic plan itself, we then need to flip to this implementation process. This is all a process. It's just going to be different processes, right? So we're going to get to the point of you all saying, like, yep, that's what we should be working towards at a high level. These, big goals, big areas that we're going to be working in, the goals within that. But then the very minute, so what businesses and what, ways of communicating, that's going to be in the implementation plan. Does that make sense?
That's the activity part of it.
Correct. Activity plan, evaluation framework, reporting timeline.
Can you write out a sample of what these blurbs look like. Like I would say one of our strategic directions, for example, we talked about was increased outreach, right?
Right.
That's a
Yeah.
strategic direction. And then one goal, which is still big, but that's what's gonna come out of her reporting, is something like get a bookmobile. That is a goal. And that might even be an activity.
That might be too specific even. I mean, based on what you all have talked about now, this is pretty plain, and I would hope that my team could come up with something a little nicer than this about how we engage people.
Yeah.
But if we're using this as a general example, the goal then might be increase awareness to underrepresented or underserved areas in the community. Like, that's still big, but then like mobile is under it, right?
Yeah,
So reach underserved.
or even the book bike,
Yeah.
but the bookmobile would carry more and it would be, all year. That's the one plus over the book bike.
Right, so you see how it gets more specific, like the lower levels you go. Now, the strategic plan itself ends here, and then implementation is like here. And so then your evaluation is like how many people, but not just numbers, because that's only one like part of the story. It's also then what change in behavior or action did these people take because they engaged with our bookmobile? Did they feel that sense of belonging or more engaged, or that they were reached, right? And that's through survey data and getting feedback from people, stories.
Personally, what I experienced when I grew up, we lived a great distance from our local library. So you could say I'm unincorporated. We had a bookmobile come to each one of the schools that were far out, like I live, once a week. On a specific day, we knew, okay, we could go in, we could request a certain thing if we wanted to from the library, and it would be there for us next week. I personally had a very good experience with the bookmobile. This time, I don't know financially what it would cost or if it's feasible, but I personally do feel it's a good way to reach out to unincorporated.
And I have a question for you,
Sure.
actually. Some questions I've gotten from staff are, when we figure out these focus areas, because of limited budget, limited staff time, limited number of staff, where do we pull back? Does your team also provide ideas for where to pull back or how to synthesize?
So we, in the implementation process that will help you set up, we'll talk with you about how do you set up a decision tree that allows you to make those decisions.
Perfect.
Because I don't know enough about your library to say, stop doing this, but do more of this. But I can help you set up the framework that will help you decide to
Thank
do
you,
that.
that's perfect.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
then,
whole-
I mean, not only at the staff level, but then to come to the board and say, okay, you all said, do this thing, here's the best way we think to do this. This means not doing this. You decide, you're the budget decision makers. So that's where you all get folded back into that. Okay, so does this make sense? Does anybody else have any questions kind of about the like next levels that we're gonna be working on here? Okay, so then I wanna go back to my question of, did we miss anything that you really felt like this is really important that we really talk about, that we include in the plan? We didn't cover it at all tonight. Anything on anybody's mind? I'm not telepathing anything to anyone currently. I was earlier, you guys pick up really well, so. Okay, great. So I want to just start to kind of wrap up a little bit and tell you what happens next. I've already mentioned that we're going to put all the notes together with the staff notes. We'll develop an outline. Planning team reviews that. We'll put together plan documents, bring that to you. You'll look at it. You'll have the opportunity to change it and whatever. I'll be on the Zoom for that meeting to go over the plan with you. We're not even going to start on this other stuff, the implementation, until you all like the plan, because I don't want to get the cart before the horse. So this is all going to take a little while. Like, I don't want you to be like, Valerie, what are you doing on outreach? Because it could legit be January before some of this starts. And if we're thinking about major changes in the structure of your budget, like, it could take longer than that. That's why it's a 3-year plan and not a 3-year plan. I love that. So I'm setting expectations around what you all can expect next. What I also want to say is that I come to meetings like this as a community member of my community, and at 2 a.m, I'll remember something that I should have said. And you may be the same way. It may take you a little bit to process some of this. And if you have those thoughts, we're going to send you another survey tomorrow that says, did you come up with anything else? Did you think of anything else? How do you feel about what we talked about? Any other thoughts? And then also like just feedback on the format of the retreat as well. You have about a week or so to fill it out. If you don't have anything else, that's fine. You don't need to, but I appreciate the feedback just to know that, you know, you all thought that it was worthwhile to come and that we met our goal of having a good discussion. Let's see, what else might you want to know? Anything else, Valerie, that you might know?
We mentioned briefly, but this presentation she's talking about will be at our October board meeting. So that's when we plan to have this plan available. So it still will be some time even before we
Correct.
get to
Yes,
the nebulous parts of things.
we're not even into September yet, yeah.
September, October levy?
We can do levy October or November.
Okay, I would love to just enclose to give each of you just a moment to reflect kind of final thoughts, something that's still sticking with you from our conversation. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I find it helps sometimes just for people to just like, here's kind of what's on my mind as we're leaving this meeting. So do you want to start over here? Anything burning, something exciting?
No, it was just very informative, and it was great working with one another
Yes.
to come down to actually see what we can actually evaluate and proceed to actually do.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the point, is having these conversations with each other. So yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
Excellent presentation.
Yeah.
Very informative for me, being a very, very new trustee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
From being involved with the last one,
Yeah,
I feel this one was
great.
right on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I think it was a lot of information to digest
Yes.
in a short amount of time.
For sure.
I don't know, it would have been helpful to have more than a week. I don't know how that all came down through the pipeline. but
That's helpful.
Just, like this week, I didn't have the time to digest it all.
Sure. Fair.
That's one thing. But very interesting, frustrating also that the information is mainly coming from people that are already using us.
Yeah.
That's frustration that we've had for a long time, and that's what's coming out of this too, is that we want to address them, so, that's all.
I'm gonna echo the comment on having more time to digest it. I just didn't have time to go through everything.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah. Any final reflections?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to just thank you for the opportunity to speak. I did want to clarify one thing, that the comments that I made earlier were feedback that I received from people within the district. So to majority, specifically to the portion of taxation without representation that came from a patron that lives in the district. In terms of, as a trustee, I feel that this report could have done better in identifying the data so that it's easier understood. And I hope that if we do use you in the future, that those adjustments could be made. Thank you.
Yes. Absolutely, and I appreciate that feedback very much. I think there may be some things we could still do to this report that would make it a little more satisfying. And I also want to make sure we accurately represent the feedback that we received from people, which is not true for everyone in the district. So again, I appreciate that feedback very much. And I think with the census data, we'll take another look and see what we can find there. Yeah, thank you. Any other reflections? Okay.
Nope.
Valerie, anything you want to say to close us out?
I have really appreciated working with you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I really have. I know we've collectively struggled on gathering data in the unincorporated
Yes.
areas of Maine Township, just because the mechanisms don't exist for gathering that data the same way that they do
Mhm.
for the village of Niles and things of that nature, which is not just a responsibility of the library and is unfortunate
Yeah.
and is something that maybe as a board, you could advocate for with local lawmakers and things of that nature, and the census in general, to help get us more data because of the way our districts are shaped in Illinois in general for libraries. That's a bigger opportunity for the board, just to bring that to light. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation that the data is not really out there. And I also appreciate that you gave everybody an opportunity to share, and that your data reflected every single comment that we got instead of being weighted. Because just as we talked about today, that there is a whole area of our district that we may not be hearing from, at least showing that one voice and considering that comment, even if it's not the average of what we're hearing, is really important for us all to consider, given that we have a somewhat divided community in values, in perception, in many other things, not just in Niles, but across the country now.
True.
So just making those broader statements and thanking you again for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been rewarding to learn about all of you. So that's my part of the presentation. I'll hand it back to you.
I don't have an agenda, but do we have other on our agenda?
Other is on the agenda if you would like to bring up
Is
other.
that where we're at this point?
That's where
then?
we're at,
Okay.
yep.
Does anyone have other?
I do wanna, what I could mention, I know you just mentioned concern about the levy versus this presentation. If the board would like, we can move the presentation to November and discuss the levy in October. I would recommend that we
Levy is
don't do both,
priority.
just because it's.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
too
let's
long.
do the
Too
levy
long.
first.
So,
Levy is priority.
okay,
I think you and I discussed actually starting a discussion about the levy in September.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could, yeah, I think let's do the levy September, October, and then
okay.
move this to
So-
November.
You'll have some more time then, Amanda.
Oh, November?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
November, if we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
We'll take a
so-
look. We can
okay.
talk about it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roberta, you know, I mean, we also have a new trustee coming on,
Yes, and this way
hopefully,
it gets our new trustee hopefully
in September.
time to get adjusted.
Perfect.
All right,
Okay,
is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, I don't know who moved and who seconded.
Move.
Okay,
Umair moved.
and who seconded?
Suzanne.
I did.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Umair,
8:48.
8:48, all right, we are
we
adjourned at
need to
8:48.
discuss